We all seek some form of change. We all seek some form of, you know, expansion of who we are, what we stand for, what we're about in terms of, our place in the world. And by gosh, the Republican Party has just given up on that entirely. It has seen the Tesla and gone for the Edsel. It has decided that while vaping not perfect and poses less of a risk of lung cancer, they're going back to dipping because who wants to pass up on gum tumors? And in this absolute about face of the Republican Party on everything that they have previously stood for, while still trying to hold on to the language that they've used all along. The difficulty is that they want to change the they want to change the vehicle but leave the bumper stickers. And it's just not possible. There is, you cannot swap out the vehicle underneath the bumper stickers and hope no one notices. So when they decry freedom and back the blue and we support our vets and all that kind of stuff, and then you find out that there was, that the Trump military budget was just run-of-the-mill graft like any other kind of giant boondoggle, and that, that Trump himself was excited watching the Capitol riot as a police officer was being beaten with a thin blue line flag on a pole, and another died and two others have committed suicide. And we now know that, according to the police union, 140 officers were injured during the January 6th attack. 140. Included these in Gus Papathanassio. I'm not even going to pretend to know what Joan. Thank you, Hal Vickery, for the super chat, and welcome everybody that's in there. But according to the union chairman, he said, quote, "I have officers who were not issued helmets prior to the attack who have sustained head injuries. One officer has 2 cracked ribs and 2 smashed spinal discs, and another stabbed with a metal fence stake, to name some of the injuries. One will lose his eye." Obviously the one that most people know about is Officer Brian Sicknick, who will lie in honor in the Capitol building so that he may be viewed by the very people that he died protecting. And it is an uncomfortable thought of the very people that cheered on the people who got him killed, walking around his body feigning sadness. It's quite disturbing to think of this. And let's see. And I think we may have Johnny Million added in here in just a moment with us. Yeah, there he is. I love the sound effect for that. And I think Johnny Million can probably hear me now. I think he can hear me now because I definitely can hear him. So, and in this, I hear you, Johnny. Nope. Well, then clearly I can hear you, Johnny, though. So if you pipe in, let's see. I'll let him know. Apparently there's an internet waggle going on in terms of the audio going to Johnny Million. I will fix that as we go. I will make it happen. I can absolutely do this. Now, perhaps this might work and make it a little cleaner, but if not, we'll figure it out. The reality that we face when we talk about these the attacks on the Capitol and the like is this illusion that they have been pushing for a long time, and that they somehow are more caring. The Republican Party has always been the party of national security, has always been the party of the police, of law and order. The president was shouting it via his Twitter feed, his now dead Twitter feed, nonstop for the greater part of last year. All around, by the way, riots, he helped to escalate by sending federal troops to stand around buildings and basically draw fire and snatch people off the street, which singularly that act, the video of people being snatched off the street away from the actual sites the federal forces were there to protect, is what created the next level rioting that occurred in Portland itself. They made it worse because of this, extrajudicial looking act that was happening. So there is a major contradiction going on in the Republican Party right now. Between now you can hear me. Look at that. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was me. Yeah, what a shock. It was me.
Okay, good. Yay! I'm glad. You're a little quiet though, so you can turn yourself up and insofar as there. So, but that might also be me. Who knows? But watching this party go through this and having a chance over the last couple of weeks after the 6th, what we were discussing in terms of what people can expect from the Republican Party going forward. Are they going to finally have a reckoning after the, it didn't have to happen after the Access Hollywood tape. It didn't happen after the Mueller investigation. Trump, in his newfound egotism, decided that he could get away with anything at that point and immediately threatened the president of Ukraine in a phone call, which he calls perfect, which he's so dumb that he thought releasing the transcript of him saying exactly what people said he said that was criminal would somehow get him off the hook. That part was amazing.
How does it work that you just say, like, what I did wasn't illegal and then you don't get in trouble?
Well, technically, it really only does that if you are between me and the zombie horde. Okay, I'm dead serious. This is, and it's good of you to bring this up because this is exactly, Johnny Million, why the vast majority of Trump supporters support Donald Trump. Beyond the Proud Boy, the hardcore racists, the Marge Greenes of the world, the soft-core Republicans who supported, I know it's a gross term, but if you've seen their hairdos, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, Kevin McCarthy, he looks like somebody, who's like the ship's doctor in a very poorly shot film from 78.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. So the reason why Trump and why other people in power, chiefs of police, this even pertains out into the star quarterback and why he can get away with sexual assault in a lot of these little towns, is because you stand between me and defeat. So I will let you, because of your position in this circumstance, get away with far more than I would any other normal person, because my perception is I have to put up with it because it's that, either I go after you for that or those people come through the door and kill me. Now, in the case of the Marge Greenes of the world and the Proud Boys, it's black people. It's black people and Mexicans. Let's be completely frank. There is a tinge, I suppose there's a quarter of the gays as well will get through the door. That's the
it sounds like you're at the deli. Yeah, could I get a quarter of the gays as well there? Are the gays
right.
Fresh?
That's right. They're too fresh, sir. I knew it. I will build a wall between you and the deli counter. You're never going to lose weight without me. The point being is that there's that chunk, but then there's the other ones that believe in communism and socialism are going to storm in and wreck our lives, and there's enough people that believe that is enough of a boogeyman that they will put up with nearly anything that Donald Trump would do. That's frankly, that's where we are. So there are two ways out of this. One is a lot of the people who stormed the Capitol and the people who incited them got to do some time. They got to either do some time or pay some fines or both, something that makes it sting so that, like any kind of punitive judicial behavior, makes them second guess that behavior again in the future. That's the whole point.
Are you talking about like Ted Cruz?
Yes, I am. I'm talking about Ted Cruz. I'm talking about Josh Hawley. I'm talking about Marge Greene. And I'm talking about Lauren Boebert. And I'm talking about, any...
Is Lauren Boebert, is that the one that said, Pelosi has left the chambers, like she was live tweeting to
the location.
That's where she was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that discovery is going to be interesting over because one of the mistakes that the Republicans, I think, are making in the impeachment trial, which starts officially on February 9th, is that they have pushed it off a little. They have, they were going to, like, let's delay it a little bit, hoping that people would cool off and forget about it. Instead of, we're having,
yeah, let's just, what was that thing? Look,
I don't even remember.
Did you hear AOC the other day say, like, you tried to have me murdered 3 weeks ago, Senator Cruz?
Yeah, right.
They're
trying to, yeah, that's right. They're trying to get her censured for saying that, by the way, which is hilarious.
Those facts are so irritating.
The people who want AOC censured for saying that to Ted Cruz are the same people who don't want Trump censured for the things that he said leading up to it. And let's be abundantly clear. The biggest primary defense, we got to take a break and we'll be back right after this, before we dive into what happened at the Capitol as it's flowing out. I before you could hear me, Johnny Million, there have been 160 law enforcement officers injured on January 6th.
Oh, that's the final total?
That's the official total from what they have. Cracked ribs, broken spinal discs. One is blinded, is going to lose his eye.
Plenty
Obviously,
of concussions, as far as I understand.
Yes, a lot of CTE. There's a lot of. I beg your pardon. You're right. M. Sheehan is 140. But we'll talk about that after we get back. But
okay,
there is all kinds of news breaking about Rudy Giuliani and Ukraine, because Ukraine is now not afraid of the U.S. government. They see us as an ally again and are now in the process of telling the Biden administration exactly what Rudy Giuliani did when he came over to Ukraine, trying to pressure them on Trump's behalf. Oops. We'll be back right after this.
Whoopsies.
Yeah. So it was 65. This is 81 were assaulted overall. 65 suffered injuries on the 6, including several concussions. You got 160 that have other injuries just from the day, guys who got, fences slammed into them and that kind of stuff when the people push back, like, excuse me.
Bless you. Do we still have D today?
No, he's not on today. He's going to be on next week. He's doing vocals. And he's like, I have to take a pass today because I can't speak. And I'm like, I completely understand. He's got a whole new album of stuff. So, yes, Capitol Police are going to be testifying at the impeachment, at least on video. The question is about bringing them in. Is that the hallway? Are you in the Death Star, or is that Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I like this one, too.
Yeah.
That's a little closer to what it's going to be like here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I thought they smelled bad on the outside. That whole thing was written just to make up for the injuries on his face.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about that. Kasdan, man, like Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah, he's an amazing screenwriter.
Yeah, I mean, it is of the three, it's really the best movie overall.
Oh, it's easily the best written.
Yes,
especially dialogue wise.
Oh my God, yeah.
Didn't his son join for the most recent ones, the 7, 8, 9?
I don't know. I don't know, and I often go, I don't know that necessarily makes it better. That's kind of like the Jim Henson's son situation.
Yeah.
Like, are you though?
Right.
Are you the best one? Are you? Flappers is the 7th. Thank you. It's a week from Sunday. Thank you, guys. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, boom,
boom. Boom, boom.
Now let's get back with House Sparks.
Look at this. It's like I'm a blob. Like, look at my torso.
It's very hard online when you're doing the imperfect cutout of a Zoom green screen. Will be one of the, if we're gonna do I Love 2020 at some point, is going to be, one of the sideline stories that makes us all go, oh, I remember that. That wasn't so bad. That was
That's
crazy
so
and
adorable.
weird. Just all coming to grips with that. The news coming out about the coming impeachment trial is that the Democrats are going to produce not only all the video that we have seen so far, or at least, large segments of it over the course of what they're saying and who was there. And obviously some of the attack footage, some of the breaking footage and all that kind of stuff to give context to the violence that was actually done on the day. But a lot of footage of these folks who are coming out saying that they were there because the president wanted them there. We had 2 women were arrested on Friday for storming the Capitol, and these two ladies, they're wearing "Make America Great Again" hats. One has the bill cap, the other one has a toque. That's next level Trumpistan. You know what I mean? To have an actual toque. They were prepared. They were ready for January 6th. It was going to be wild, and it sure was. And they, unfortunately, thank you. New patron joining us today. That's really awesome.
Yay.
Yay. That's what helps keep the show running. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Patreon.com/HalSparks. The 2 Pennsylvania women were arrested on Friday after allegedly storming the Capitol. Allegedly. There's video, and they admit it. I don't know why we have to use allegedly in those situations. Alleged
Right?
by them, actually, which is curious. I suppose you can
by
do that,
their
too.
Instagram stories.
Yes. And expressing their intent to kill House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Dawn Bancroft and Diane Santos Smith are facing 3 charges, including knowingly entering or remaining in a restricted building without lawful authority, violent entry, and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. And in the criminal complaint, prosecutors allege the pair were seen in video trying to exit the Capitol after the riots. They did. Unless they're still there. How very odd. And the quote was, "We broke into the Capitol. We got inside. We did our part." Bancroft, who was wearing a MAGA ski cap, said in the video, "We were looking for Nancy to shoot her in the friggin' brain, but we didn't find her."
Jesus.
When the FBI questioned Santos Smith on January 20th, what do you think? She totally came forward and said, I stand by what I said. I was there for freedom. This was really, they stole the election. You think that's what she said? No, that's not what she said. She initially said she only attended former President Trump's rally. In the Daily Beast article, it literally says attended former Trump's rally, which I like the fact that he's just not Trump anymore at all. I guess without Twitter, is he truly? Do you even Trump, bro, without Twitter?
I don't think so.
And didn't physically enter the Capitol. After agents showed her the video of her and Bancroft, Santos Smith admitted they went inside, but didn't have a pre-planned agenda, in quotes, to do so. She added, and by the way, that's important. Can I put a pin in that, may I? She says, and I quote, she didn't have a pre-planned agenda. Because Rudy Giuliani's entire pushback, if you've heard any of his defense in the last few days about, that Trump didn't incite this was started months ago. There were lots of groups, including the Lincoln Project, that were involved in the storming of the Capitol, which is just absurd. But the idea was that it wasn't a spontaneous act. Some of this started before the president was even done speaking.
Somebody told them that conspiracy is very serious. Yeah.
Well, this lady who had a plan, who was wearing Trump merch, had a plan to shoot Nancy Pelosi. They were looking for Nancy Pelosi to shoot her in, quote, the friggin' brain. Said she didn't have a pre-planned agenda, but apparently brought a gun or were planning on stealing them once they got there, because at one point one of the officers said people were trying to take his gun. I don't doubt that wasn't
so terrifying.
Yeah. She added that she and Bancroft arrived at the Capitol. They heard protesters saying they're letting us in, which she interpreted as being allowed entry. Excuse me?
That's a little
What part of the cops being dragged down the steps in front of you makes you think that they're letting us in because they want us there, not because they're overrun and their only choice is to kill you, so they're standing back hoping not to escalate, which is exactly what happened with a lot of the cops. The pair entered through a broken window, as you do when you're allowed entry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
John, why don't you come over for dinner at the house? Just use any entry and any rock you can
Yeah,
find.
Should I bust in through the normal window that I come crashing
Yeah,
through every
exactly.
time?
You know, I'm allowing you in. Why not? So,
We talked about it.
yeah, right. He's letting me in by not shooting through the window, apparently. Which this is the pair entered through a broken window, which Santos Smith said she knew they should not have done. Okay, so
all right.
there you go. You have awareness of illegal activity you were participating in. You knew you were breaking the law, and you broke the law in entering the property with the intent to commit first-degree murder. And this is the quote from her, "We were looking for Nancy to shoot her in the friggin' brain, but we didn't find her." That is malice of forethought. That is planning. That is not a crime of passion. That's not first-degree manslaughter. That's not second-degree murder. That's that's attempted first-degree murder. What in the hell? So Trump and Giuliani's defense is, we didn't inspire those people to go up there. This was all like Antifa, and our people were just led inside, which is just, I mean, the abdication of responsibility, the lazy, immoral, just vacant view of control or responsibility for your own behavior is stunning in this context. So during this whole, when they were busting through a window, they were entering through a busted window because they were allegedly allowed to break in, and the police officers that were between them and that window before it was broken and before they entered through it were, of course, injured in the process. And by the way, since January 6th, 38 Capitol Police employees have tested positive for COVID. So the death toll may rise because of that. Certainly their medical bills and the cost to the taxpayer goes up because we, as we should, provide them with health care for endangering their lives.
Yeah.
The pushback from Trump and the Republicans are that this isn't Trump's doing. Even though, and their fallback is, and this is one of the more more irritating aspects of this, is that they will go, well, because people said that, there should be, that they supported protests around George Floyd, that they also tacitly support the looting and the rioting. When nothing of the sort happened. When that was not, when Maxine Waters said, you get up into people's faces and let them know you're there, knowing full well that she doesn't have a bunch of people. There's no history of Maxine Waters asking for a Second Amendment solution to political problems. There's no history of her saying, you guys need to open carry in front of these. We need a bunch of people. They're trying to violate our rights, so people need to get up in their faces with long guns, that kind of stuff. Stuff that you hear from the right all the time, that you can't now cut loose from the rest of their arguments and their statements and attach it to what Democrats have said in the past and act like it all balances out. And by the way, there was a huge difference between Maxine Waters saying, if you see somebody in D.C. and you get up in their face and let them know they're not welcome, because somebody had said that, I think it was that around the Sarah Sanders stuff when people were like, booed her out of the restaurant, and they were like, yeah, you guys shouldn't be welcome. You're supporting the disappearing of children. Why would I eat 6 feet from you and pretend you don't? And, meanwhile, that was decried, but the dude with the gun in front of Comet Ping Pong, who believed Pizzagate, he's just a Republican Trump supporter who just really cares about children. That guy really cares about children because he buys this nutty conspiracy theory about pedivores. But anybody who literally knows that Sarah Sanders was lying from the podium about the Trump's, zero tolerance policy that he cooked up with Stephen Miller that has resulted in, at current state, 611 children who can't be placed back with their families because they're lost for good, and 8,000 children dumped on the Mexican side of the border without any adult supervision in basically a cartel town. What do you think happened to those children?
I'm sure they're good.
I mean,
I'm sure it's fine. I can sleep at night, can't you?
That in and of it's horrifying. So the difference between Maxine Waters saying get up in their faces and you let them know what you think, and Donald Trump said literally, and at some point in the future, because Maxine Waters, there was no, she wasn't outside a restaurant full of Republicans having that like Mitch McConnell meeting that they had before Obama was sworn in, going, anything he does, we're gonna stop, like that. They weren't outside there going, they're in there, go get them, right? There was no situation in any of these things where they're saying Democrats said this. I blew past the break. We've got to come back after this because I'm just ranting and angry at this point. But the difference was Donald Trump was right there. He pointed where he wanted these people to go. He said, we're going to walk down and I'm going to walk down there with you. A lot of the people who left early knew what he was going to say from that point on anyways. So they went down there to be led into the Capitol and allowed in by the President of the United States to stop the steal. They thought he was going to be there like Moses to part the police for them so they could go in there and hang Nancy Pelosi for treason. They really believed this stuff. And he knows they did. We'll be back right after this. Yeah. Somebody in the chat just said they built a gallows, and I'm like, yeah, they brought the stuff for a gallows. I saw at one point there was a Black Lives Matter protest, I think in Minneapolis or one of these things, and somebody, Project Veritas or somebody, said a truck rolled up and had a lot of banners for Black Lives Matter and that kind of stuff, and they started passing them out because it was an unorganized process that turned into an organized. Or an unorganized protest that turned into an organized protest. And because they were passing these things out, or did you disappear, turn your mic off, or your camera off? Yeah, he went I think he went potty. But there was a point where they were filming that like, oh my God, these people, this was planned all along. How dare they show this, show up with signs. This truck comes out, starts handing out banners so they could all walk with it in front. Like somebody didn't just make a phone call and go get the truck and with all the stuff in it and drive it over here because we're going to start a march and we're going to head straight to the city hall or what have you. And then, I mean, that was literally a gotcha. You guys remember that? And then somebody showed up. Where's the footage? Where's the Project Veritas footage of the people who showed up with the gallows, who built the gallows? Where'd the wood come from? There was a plan to build this. You could walk up on it. It was stable. It wasn't like a bunch of people found some stuff and made a makeshift gallows. They had one ready to assemble. Welcome back to the show. I'm Hal Sparks. This is the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. We're live on WCPT Radio every Saturday, 9 to 11 Pacific Time, 11 to 1 Central Time. Taking your calls, 773-763-9278 throughout the Chicagoland area and Mega Worldwide, as you do. Because we do stream all over the planet. That is, I think, and other planets. If you're watching the live stream right now, you can see that Johnny Million is streaming from Hoth, actually.
Hoth.
Yeah. Right. Where he's
and I'm also
apparently
shaped like Grimace.
And repping Marshall amps. So I didn't
That's
realize
right.
they had a rep on Hoth. that company is serious. So
Hoth rocks.
Yes. Hoth Fest was just awesome this year, I want to say. So the Senate impeachment trial will include a lot of the the cell phone footage and the testimony of the people that are being rounded up. And House Democrats are actually seeking out new cell phone footage of the Capitol siege as well as updated details about people who were arrested, like the QAnon
They're
shaman.
flipping on each other hard.
Oh, it's so good. And
They are snitches. And you know
oh
what
man,
snitches get? Snitches get cookies.
yes, they do. They get marzipan. I thought it was, which is worse than stitches.
It's a little gross.
It's a little gross. But so over the course of, this, you're hearing a lot of, this is our second impeachment of Donald Trump. And the primary argument from them was this is an illegal impeachment because you cannot impeach a former officer, a private citizen, which let me just say, yeah, yes, you can, because, and this goes to the same thing about Trump pardoning himself. Can I just say, for the record, that that Trump could never pardon himself if he indeed issued himself a pardon, because we know Pence didn't, because he didn't resign and have Pence do it. We know officially because Biden was sworn in as the 46th. He would have been sworn in as the 47th.
No, he wasn't.
Right, March
It
4th.
Illegal.
We're gonna right. Oh God. So
he was actually signed in to be president of another entity, and you'll see on March 4th when America goes bankrupt.
Right, because there's two. Yeah, he's not. It's the non-federated, unincorporated. It's the outlet store America. It's just like America, except one leg is longer than the other. So,
and that's just because they've been grazing on the side of a mountain for a while.
Well, as you do. I just meant, when you buy outlet jeans, they're always, the idea is that they're one.
I thought you just meant like a person who kind of walked with a hitch and is giddy up.
No. I mean, like the outlet store America that we're all going to live in.
Sure.
This, even though the Republican, I would argue that if the Republicans formed their own America, it would be precisely that. It would be, I mean, this is outlet store conspiracy theories. I mean, I'm all for, aliens have been in contact with world governments for a long time kind of conspiracy. That's fun. That's a good dive. Makes for great, if the history.
Slowly rolling out all this tech, I'm on board.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
That
sounds fun. Absolutely. If the History Channel runs out of Hitler footage, they got to have something to put on. And it's a mix of future. It's a mix of, it's history made every day because of the aliens, of course, propagating and coming up with new ways to consume us as milkshakes or whatever. I'm for it. It's fun. I'm just trying to make Johnny Million spit his yogurt.
He's trying to make me laugh while I'm eating. I ran 7 miles. I got to refuel.
I understand. So over the course of, this, I'm arguing that Marge Greene is the outlet mall version of Donald Trump. and that the QAnon conspiracy is the outlet mall version of the great conspiracies. 9/11 was an inside job. The aliens have been living in Area 51 and took control of the military base and are eating human milkshakes. That kind of stuff. Like they built the pyramids, that kind of stuff. This is the I heard they built this city on rock and roll. It's true, absolutely. That's why. Yeah, that's L.A. actually. Yeah. And even though they used San Francisco and they wrote the song in L.A., they recorded it because they're from San Francisco and they used the city by the bay kind of thing. And both of them have earthquakes. So I think it's got layered meaning, right? It's got so
many layers.
I love that. We built this city's a deeper song than you even realize. So this is, again, our second impeachment. And over the course of this, they are arguing that you can't impeach somebody who's out of office, which of course you can, because the goal and the intentional idiocy of Rand Paul and others claiming that you can't impeach a private citizen who's no longer in office because it's impeachment and removal removal and disqualification are the primary things, and they want to believe that there's an ampersand, not a written and, in between those two. Now, those of you that don't get the references, that anytime you see a movie and there's two writers and there's an ampersand between them, that means they wrote it together. If there's a written word and, it means the top person wrote most of the script. The one below him wrote either cleaned it up or originally wrote the first draft that they used a little bit of, and further down. So the more ands there are, the more times the script is passed through, okay, we need somebody else. They bring on a new writer entirely. They don't talk. They don't work together. If there's an ampersand, they work together. So that's that, and it's crucial in legal terms. And so in terms of this particular law, the Republicans are trying to pretend there is an ampersand between removal and disqualification and not the word and, meaning there are two purposes to this. There are two purposes: the removal of someone who is in office, and of course, the guarantee that they won't get in and do it again, that they won't hold another federal office or even try, because they can do damage. We know how damaging they are. They got impeached for a reason. They cannot be trusted with taxpayer dollars again, is essentially the issue. And this was their initial push on this. And I don't doubt that somebody will float it again in the actual, this is a travesty, this is a farce, you shouldn't be able to buy. This is a private citizen we're talking about now. All the while, there's two camps. The Republicans who want the MAGA crowd, who secretly, if it was a secret ballot, Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley would absolutely vote to disqualify Trump from running again so they could run in his stead and have his audience clamor behind them. But since they have to vote out in the open, it forces them to voice their vote in support of him openly, so that sensible voters
or they'll
will turn
disqualify themselves entirely from getting those votes.
Exactly. So the process of this, we're going, a lot of them are saying, Rudy Giuliani and others are saying the president didn't even have a chance to advocate for himself in the House impeachment of this time around. As if we didn't go through this last time. We did. Last impeachment, we talked about this. The trial is in the Senate. The impeachment is like an indictment. You could say things, but it's not an entrance of evidence. This is it is presented just like a bill is, and it is signed off on. He gets a chance at due process at a trial. He has to be acquitted, in the or found guilty or impeached in the actual Senate. He has that opportunity. That we've been through this. If we hadn't had an impeachment since Bill Clinton, it'd be people would understand why, people would be understandably confused about why he didn't have, his attorneys present in the House impeachment of him. But we just did this. We know exactly what's going on. And we also know that during that period, it was not that Trump deserved to stay in office or that the impeachment in the Senate wasn't it wasn't directly, it wasn't justified. It was that the Senate Republicans ran interference. They had control of the Senate. They dictated the terms of it, and they guaranteed he stayed in office. They did this. It's a protection racket for a myriad of reasons. Some of them just to protect the Republican brand. Other ones because, they are absolute
Is it really
Trumpists.
about, judges and stuff like that?
No. There's no judge in this. Each one has to judge for themselves because it's not a jury. So it's not like 12.
But I mean, the reason that they run interference, is that just to get more conservative judges in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, this is, Amy Coney Barrett happened largely because they protected him.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the irony, though, that she sided the majority of the Supreme Court against his ridiculous lawsuit.
Oh, that was the best. That was so poetic.
Yeah. It's brutal. But again, we're dealing with the second impeachment and the narrative coming from the Republicans that this is all a farce. This is all, they're just pushing this, and they're just attacking him. It's because they don't like Trump. It's a personal vendetta they have against him. It's vengeful and what have you. And you can tell by the last one because he was totally acquitted and not guilty of this or whatever. Well, guess what? Information is coming out from Kiev, depending on, Kiev is how they pronounce it.
Oh, okay.
So Kiev.
I thought it was just your friend Kevin.
No, and I was like, we need. I think technically it's pronounced. No, it's Kiev. Kiev.
Pronounce it Borussia.
Kiev.
Okay,
Kiev.
I'm worried about Hal. People. If you could just go check on him, go kick the side of him like Fonzie.
Oh, I see. So I'm sorry, you didn't hear my sound effect that I was playing behind there because
No,
I
I
saved it
couldn't.
from
I'm
that.
sorry.
I see. Okay, that's all right. So here, hold on. I'll make sure you can. I think you can hear from now on. You should hear fine. But basically, it was Trump's pronunciation of Burisma, which is of course. So
What was that? What was he trying to say?
Burisma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That guy.
and he starts by and there's another one. I have to say it's very faint, and we have to take a break, but it's very faint. Listen to the tail end of this one. This is, I think, one of my favorite versions of this. This is Trump trying to say Burisma. Listen, he says it at the very
company
end.
that his son worked for. That's Burisma.
Burisma. That's Burisma. He couldn't say it. COVID brain is real, folks. Just I want you to know that. Now. We'll be back right after this, but I want to talk a little bit before, like, next hour. We'll take some calls, 773-763-9278, and we're going to talk about the upcoming impeachment. We're going to talk about the COVID rollout, the fact that we have a new plan. We actually have a plan now, and the fact that Rudy Giuliani made several trips to Kyiv over the course of, the last 2 years of the Trump administration, especially leading up to the impeachment trial, and was demanding stuff of them, and all of that is coming out. And it lines up interestingly with that perfect transcript and that perfect phone call where he said, talk to Rudy. Well, what was Rudy saying to him when he said, talk to Rudy? Well, Rudy was saying the loud part loud. We'll be back right after this. Burmisia.
Free health care for illegal. Look.
And his wife, Carrot.
Yeah, we haven't had Carrot in a while. We got to throw Carrot in there. Oh, these are. I'm prepped for I love this.
Are you?
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President Mike Pence and his wonderful wife, Carrot. Michigan gave us Motang.
Motang.
Oh, God. The Motang Clan. Hey, everybody, Motang Clan. That's the group we have in the chat. We have the Motang Clan in the chat. Yeah.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges. People coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup.
Big bags of soup.
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. Yosemites.
I wonder how would he pronounce sesame if he saw it written down.
Sesame. Sesame. This is the same bun I had on the other sandwich.
Could I have the sesame?
Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the socialist takeover of the U.S. government, and of course,
Free
our plan
for illegal. Look.
for our free health care for what?
Look.
I gotta say, as part of the Trump thing, I am not gonna miss his geography lessons.
Corona means Italy. I'm
not gonna miss his inability to pronounce Burisma.
Burisma.
Did he say Corona means Italy?
Yeah, he said when I think Corona, to me Corona means Italy, which, by the way, we think he means Verona, unless that's the last place he had alcohol, which is, it's hard to tell. Anyway, so over the course of the lead up to the perfect phone call, and the time right after the perfect phone call, and when everybody pulled the ripcord on the perfect phone call, and they released the transcript of the perfect phone call, one of the parts of it, and I'll look that up in a moment, was the fact that I'll get the exact quote, but he basically said, talk to Rudy, to the president of Ukraine, that Rudy's going to talk to you, but we're going to need you to do us a favor, though. We're going to need you to, start this investigation. And what they were trying to do, again, was craft this, do an end run around. He thought if he ran against Sanders, he would win hands down. And by the way, there's a lot to point to. He's absolutely right. The number of crossover votes and soft independents and whatever that voted for Biden that gave him the edge in this election, and considering the extra votes that they got on Trump's side, there's absolutely no question that's what would have happened. Had it been Sanders or Warren, they both would have lost this time around. It would have been horrifying. It might have been close, but it would have been a loss. And
horrible that Warren would have lost.
I mean, in a sane universe, no. But in our modern situation, absolutely. Yeah. And Trump knew this. He knew that there were only a couple of people that could run against him and actually, tear off some of the conservatives or tear off some of the independents that would lean his way and bring him back, over to the Democratic side. And so he decided, they started a plan early on to get rid of Biden. And this was going to be the attack because it was apparently the only one he was worried about running against. And so, he tells the president of Ukraine, that you're going to need him to do a favor. And the Ukrainians had to go talk to Rudy Giuliani as Trump's emissary. Trump was acting as an ambassador for Trump, not for the United States, but he was there, not carrying out the will of the American people and our congressionally mandated and financed position towards Ukraine against Russia. He was there as a strict representative of Trump the candidate and Trump the human being. And Trump's little thing about we need you to do us a favor, though, was strengthened by Rudy Giuliani on the ground, word for just delivering Trump's message. Now, we know Trump does not use email to convey stuff because he's feared it for a long time. It's one of the reasons why he went after Hillary's emails so much. It's because he really isn't scared of his coming out because he doesn't use them. Most of his stuff is written on paper. A lot of the stuff, that he wrote beautiful letters back and forth between him and Putin and between him and Kim Jong-un. And the reason is because they can be destroyed afterwards. Old school, rice paper dropped in water kind of spycraft. And so he doesn't email these things. He talks on the phone when and he's afraid of recordings. A lot of these things is why he talks to him via his own regular phone, knowing it, or feeling it isn't tapped, at least by our people. He doesn't seem to care if it's tapped by anybody else. So, they recognized they had to talk to Rudy Giuliani. The Washington Post is reporting that Zelensky's team's decision to talk about Rudy's tactics coincides with efforts to reset relationships with President Biden. They're just kind of opening up about what happened. We've gotten through all these trials despite criticism at home and abroad. And today, this feeling that the mention of Ukraine is associated with various scandals should disappear. They want to be seen as, not just this boogeyman that they've been made out to be. And they said Giuliani's tone and actions during his dealings with Ukrainians were, quote, aggressive and threatening, said one Zelensky insider who spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the issue. But Ukrainians, he said, steadfastly refused to play ball. I don't think people understand how much we owe the president of Ukraine for protecting our democracy from itself.
Oh, Jesus.
The accusations against Biden centered on his son, Hunter. The Ukrainian investigations into Burisma and its founder, Mykola Zlochevsky, are ongoing, but authorities said none of these cases involved Hunter Biden. A Senate report in September described the younger Biden's position at the company as, quote, problematic, but found no wrongdoing by Joe Biden. And by the way, it was the Republicans in the Senate, and the Senate was controlled by Republicans when this report was written, that inserted the word problematic to make it give the appearance of impropriety when there was none. They found none, but they needed to come away with something in the Senate report because Barr wasn't finding anything. The Ukrainians weren't finding anything, and they absolutely could if there was. It's not like this kind of stuff would be that deep a mystery to find. It's run-of-the-mill money laundering they would be looking for. There would be traces of it all over the place, but they couldn't find any. Giuliani's pressure began almost from the moment Zelensky's election in April 2019. The former New York mayor planned to travel to Ukraine the following month, but Giuliani canceled at the last moment, claiming that Zelensky was, quote, surrounded by, quote, enemies of Trump. This set off concerns in Zelensky's inner circle that Giuliani would poison Zelensky's relationship with the White House. In July 2019, Yermak asked Volker to introduce him to Giuliani in an effort to clear the air. Ukrainians needed the U.S. diplomatic and financial muscle to bolster them in their ongoing battles with Kremlin-backed insurgents in eastern Ukraine, a conflict that has killed more than 13,000 people since 2014. Go-to guy. Until we were 100% certain that Rudy was the go-to guy and nothing would happen without him, we were trying to avoid him as much as possible, said Igor Novikov, who served as an advisor to Zelensky until August and as a member of the team tasked with responding to U.S. overtures during the Trump administration. But then towards the end of June, we realized that we couldn't achieve anything with Trump without talking to Rudy first. So in the impeachment trial that we've already been through, that the Republicans protected Trump from, they're like, it's nothing. This was just the transcript. There was nothing going on there. The Ukrainians know, and this is going to continue to come out, by the way. This is going to go deeper and further as they fear less ramifications and can speak more openly about what Rudy actually did while he was over there, who he spoke to, and what about. Biden's already heard this by now, by the way. He's talked to Zelensky. They're already aware of this. Their teams are coordinating. They're going to make sure that Ukraine is protected against Ukraine. They're going to help them against the Kremlin-backed separatists. We're going to be back on a normal footing, if we're not already, in terms of them. And these guys they're going to find out over the course of this, as they already are doing, that Rudy was essentially saying to them, he had a wish list. He came to them with a wish list. Listen to this. According to Novikov, Zelensky, the Giuliani wish list was this. Zelensky would publicly announce the launch of investigations into Burisma and allegations that Ukrainian officials conspired to interfere in the 2016 presidential elections. Just let these investigations go forward. Get someone to investigate them, Novikov recalled Giuliani saying, because he was there taking notes when Giuliani didn't know there was somebody taking notes. Furthermore, Giuliani wanted, quote, a public statement from Zelensky at the right time saying that he supports the investigations. It would clear the air really well, Giuliani said, according to Novikov's notes. According to Novikov, Giuliani told the Ukrainians that Zelensky should, quote, be careful of the people surrounding him or he could find himself, quote, in trouble. Basically threatening his life.
Yeah.
Giuliani later played a key role in the July 25th phone call in which Trump asked Zelensky to, quote, do us a favor. The call became the centerpiece of the House. Trump took the phone call because Rudy said Zelensky would say certain things, said the official involved in Ukrainian discussions. But the Americans' tone changed after the call. Trump apparently didn't hear what he wanted to hear. We got to take a break. This goes to the reason why Trump could say it was a perfect phone call is because he believed, Trump did, that he had outsourced all the illegal stuff to Rudy Giuliani and that no one was taking notes and that no one would dare question him and that he was guaranteed re-election by this control point. And if he was successful in this, he would stay in office and he would finish the job so that there would be no evidence of it. That basically Putin would run roughshod over Ukraine. By that time, they would be pantsed in front of them, and that would be that. We got to take a break. We'll be back at the top of the hour, taking calls 773-763-9278. There we go. Yeah, just dumb. Here, I'm going to send you something, Johnny, for the next hour. I'll send you the couple of stories.
In the Zoom chat?
No, I'll do it via message, because it's on my iPad.
Okay.
Just so you know what I'm looking at. And the This is the one from the ladies who were arrested. Here you go. There's that story. And then the last one I'm sending you is almost a happy ending. It's kind of funny. And I'm so glad we can do, life is returning to abnormal, at least to some degree, where a story like this can be actually even talked about with some humor.
I'm here for this kind of stuff, Hal.
I got to tell you, that's one of my, I saw that and I was like, that's just beautiful.
Oh, man.
Don't read it out loud because I don't want to spoil
I won't.
it.
No, I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah. Oh, you have Trump trolls? Oh, I don't doubt it. I mean, where else are they going to go? Hi, Trump trolls. Thanks for puffing up our numbers. I appreciate it. Thanks very much. It's a good time for you guys to to be joining us and I understand that what else are you going to do with your time? Your dude lost and terribly. I mean, it's got to be rough. I got to say, it's got to be
so embarrassing.
Can't be easy to carry that one around that he lost and he lost so heavily. So let's see. Oh, I see what you guys I see what you guys are talking about. All good. But I appreciate it's fun that they're here because we certainly need them. They bump up our numbers. I have to say I've in checking literally I'm literally that kind of streamer now where I have to look at like, oh, I have numbers now that are sort of meaningful, to the point where I'm like, oh, I can see an actual turn in volume of people. I mean, it used to be just a little group has always been and always will. Now we got 735 people just in the YouTube, and that used to be like the entire number across all platforms.
Yeah, that's really high. That's so much higher than a couple of years ago. Yeah,
it's wonderful, and I welcome everybody who legit wants to be here, and I
for one welcome our new giant ant overlords. Do you remember that?
For all of us, thanks, Brad. Yes, what's that from?
It's from The Simpsons when the Kent Brockmeyer, the news guy, just completely turns on the human race.
Right. Which is hard not to do if you do local news, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I'm not kidding.
Imagine your opinion on humanity after doing local news for a few years.
Because here's the thing: you can see the awfulness of humanity on a national news level, but when you see the people you're talking about at the grocery store, it's a huge drop off, and you're like, "Dear God, where am I?" The burnout dude, I do when I'm touring, doing stand up. And I go to local TV, like the morning shows and the afternoon shows at these things. Holy God, chewing aspirin while drinking black coffee and just like, like the anchor man, if it was a horror film. Thank you. It's
and we
stunning.
do have phone calls, by the way.
Oh, right on. Cool. We'll get into those in a segment or so. What's happening, UK peeps?
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out on me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So I have to say, let's start the hour off right, though. It has been a weird 10 days or so because all of the normal governing stuff that is happening out of the White House right now is downright shocking. It is, the regular briefings.
Yeah, like policy and briefings.
Yeah. The, actually coming out and going and saying, I don't have an answer for that, but I'll get you one. And then them actually doing that. Like, what is happening? Dogs barking in the background during signings because there are pets in the White House once again.
Rescue pets.
Yeah, right. That there is, a genuine national strategy that if you want to, you can look at on the whitehouse.gov website. It's an actual plan. It's written. It has a cover page and everything. Like, it's a real thing. With a table of, there's an executive summary. I mean, it's pages long. It has the goals and an actual action plan attached to every goal. It has proper punctuation. I'm going to faint. Like, there is a certain level of just, when you have Republicans running on the idea that government sucks and can't do anything right.
Here,
and
let me show
therefore,
you.
And followed by watch this. It's hard not to kind of lose some sort of faith in government as a function, not because of that the structure is wrong or how it's laid out is wrong or that the rules and plans within it are bad, but because people are so garbage and fundamentally flawed, you just lose your faith in humanity. And this is, by the way, while it's incredibly reassuring and the Biden administration has lost no time in, undoing a lot of what Trump did with his executive orders, with other executive orders, which is just going back to normal, that they are going to proceed with, no doubt. There's going to be a vote under reconciliation for a stimulus plan. The Republicans are, I believe, negotiating in bad faith once again. They're going to try and knock stuff out without whipping their own votes. They're not going to bring enough people to clear the normal 60 vote hurdle. So they're going to, instead of blowing up the filibuster, the Democrats are going to have to vote for the stimulus bill via reconciliation. They'll guaranteeing themselves 51 votes because of their 50 plus the VP. And I think probably 5 or 8 Republicans joining in, but not enough just shy of 60 votes.
Not of a
essentially.
super, yeah.
Yeah, so 58 or 59. And literally, if one person had the guts of John McCain to come out and go, I'll be the 60th, we don't even have to do this through reconciliation, then you would have a functioning government. And again, this is a bipartisan thing. No one is arguing this isn't needed. No one is and the areas that are hit the worst are the Republican areas. And at a certain point, it is painful to realize that these folks just don't care what happens to their constituents or actively are hoping that they can just peel off some of the weak ones. I mean, it's a terrible thing to think about another human being, but that they just don't care if the people with pre-existing conditions or the black and brown people in their districts die, because they can just do without them. It's hard to draw another conclusion when you know that they're at least, if you're able to obey traffic laws, you've got the brains to figure out that masks help. You're just lying to yourself and others so that you don't have to face that. So or so that you use that as a weapon against those in your district you'd rather not have around. There is as the news deals with the Biden administration and what can it do and what will it do and stuff, I, for one, considering we're 10 days in, am amazed at the number of Biden must, Biden has to headlines. considering how.
Yeah, just all of these, like, boy, the Biden's really got his work cut out for him, and he can't do it like this, and he can't do it like that. Oh, because no one's governed for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. And you're certainly not helping in that regard. And you're kind of bypassing the fact that the American people need to be up for this, that we need to be on, either through the Lincoln Project or others, like putting pressure on these on the Republicans that are still malleable and would, like I said, come to, end up voting for this. Because if you save reconciliation, if you can get to the 60 vote threshold on at least the stimulus bill, there are that's two reconciliation votes that the Democrats have in their pocket this year, like timeouts in a Super Bowl game, to use for other stuff, namely the infrastructure gains or the expansion of Medicare, Medicaid, those kind of things, like those kind of, or the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. You can do that because it is Congress's job to pass the budgetary aspects of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. So providing enough voting machines, making sure people have the resources and that there's enough security around our elections to protect them from foreign influence and the like, which is part of the act as well, that is within the budgetary work of the government, because they've got to allocate funds to the states to take these steps. And therefore, you could pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act under reconciliation, but not if you had to use it simply to pass the stimulus bill, for example, which is a must-pass thing or the economy will collapse. So that, using up that reconciliation, the act of making Democrats use up one of their reconciliations is not just them not voting for the stimulus package, which is a rescue plan. I shouldn't call it a stimulus because that's not what it is at all. It is genuinely without it, the economy will collapse. It's not we're trying to puff it up and get it back to normal or help it get ahead because we're worried about, the jobs numbers. There is utter collapse ahead if some version of that, the number of people who will be evicted from their homes, the number of people who will lose any number of services during winter is fundamental to this rescue package, which is a must pass. If the Republicans pull their support and don't make it a must pass, not only are they showing their lack of support for the American people in this dire moment, but they are also, this is you have to understand there is a second attack going on things like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Because those bills, if they make them use the reconciliation votes, of which they have two, on things that are absolutely burn them down crucial, which they should be voting for, it keeps the Democrats from being able to use those for other bills, including the Voting Rights Act. Both of those are incredibly valuable, bills. They're just on different tiers. One is an emergency. One is about an emerging threat. So that it is when the Republicans do this, if they do not show up to give a 60 vote, get 60 votes to pass this the rescue plan. Not only are they selling the American economy and the American people down the river for fealty to Donald Trump, but they are also and negotiating in bad faith if they try to get anything taken out of it. Not only are they doing that, but they are also attacking these other priorities, including immigration reform, for example, which, by the way, a bipartisan bill, which would pass with a majority if it was done in secret. But they're going to use this as leverage, pretending they don't want it. And even though it provides for border security in a way that's more sound and more comprehensive, than 25 extra miles of wall, of which it's 3 miles on either side of every port entry area where we already had wall or barrier. Because that's what that was. That's where the 25 wasn't Oh, we need this one big stretch, or we're just extending the wall 25 miles out into the desert randomly someplace. All the additional wall that wasn't just, repair or a revising of design was mild extension, a mile and a half in one direction or another. No major shift. It's absurd. I have no doubt we have calls, so we're going to take a break. Make sure we get on the top side of this break so we can take those calls right after the break. We'll be back right after this. 773-763-9278. This is the Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million, at Johnny Million1 on Twitter. I'm at Hal Sparks on Twitter. If you haven't been censored we're being censored. Poor Josh Hawley being censored. I heard him talking about being censored when he was talking about his full-page editorial in the New York Times that he talked about on Sean Hannity about how he was censored.
Right.
But censoring is terrible. We'll be back.
So, Hal, I can't hear Chicago, so I don't know if I'll hear the calls.
Oh, well, I will make that happen. Let's see. You can't hear Chicago. I'm sure I can fix that.
Yay.
The co-host goes. Oh yes, you will be able to now.
Boot.
Because I turned on the Chromes because I was using this the other day. I have to set up I'm going to be doing Stuttering John's show later today, and I use the same co-host output. I have to create a whole new one just for StreamYard because it uses Google Chrome, and if you bounce the sound back from Chicago's in Chrome because of the software, the thing we use to go to them. And so if I bounce that sound back, it creates a loop. Well, I have to turn it off when I use that. And if I want my sound effects to go, to
you have
StreamYard,
to have those sound effects.
I have to. So that, it's a...
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
Swim back in 20.
Thanks.
I should not be so delightful.
It's just I just like the they're not allowed to be offensive, and then just putting some other
they're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
Butthole!
Just makes me laugh. I don't know.
Where do you have a clip of someone?
This is Tom Harmon. You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Johnny Million and I were having fun with sound effects during the break because I don't get to use them as much during my stream or whatever. But I often will trail off this quote from Donald Trump about his supporters not being able to beat people up.
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
With this. Which I think is, as your standard jokes go, fairly solid. But John, I was showing a variant where that Johnny enjoyed very much.
They're not allowed to be offensive, unfortunately.
Butthole!
And he was confused as to where that comes from.
Yes.
You don't know?
First of all, you don't.
You can't. You don't know. Don't tell him. Don't tell him. You can't guess who this is by just how they say that word.
Butthole!
You have to know. You have to know the human being. You got to recognize that voice.
Roddy Piper?
No, that's cheating. You already know I have a Roddy Piper quote from They Live in my opening. No, it's from. I'll give you a little more of it.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
Yeah.
That's okay. So it's Nick Cage.
Yep.
But I don't remember that movie.
It's from The Rock.
Oh wow.
Right. So and it's been one of my favorite movie clips for my entire adult life since that movie came out.
What a choice to make. Actors make choices. What a choice to just scream.
And
what I'm going to emphasize in this line.
Well, and also, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, well, Shane Black, I think, wrote that script, so it's entirely possible that line was in the script.
And italicized?
Yes, right. Like whispered through clenched teeth kind of thing, But But ultimately, it was. I want to believe that it was an inspired moment from Nick Cage that kind of goes, to the type of actor and crazy person he is.
That was really cool, by the way.
I agree. So let's take a call though, because I don't want to get too deep down down into the rock. Your name is Goodspeed. All right. Who do we have first on the line?
Up first is Peter from Chicago.
Excellent.
Hello, Hal. How are you?
Hey, Peter. Welcome. You there?
I'm just amazed at the left's inability to let Trump go away from office. I understand why you're doing it, because if you talk about Biden, there's really
he left. He left office. He left office. He's gone away from office.
But you guys are continuing to talk about him. CNN, MSNBC. You guys just.
I'm sorry. Have you brought up Colin Kaepernick in the last month to anybody in general conversation? I'm guessing you probably have. But secondly, at what point? So the bank robber escapes. Wait. So your argument is the bank robber escapes. Why do we have to keep trying to put him in jail? That's the argument. Law and order.
First off, I could give two craps about Colin Kaepernick. Never have. He's not talented enough to be in the NFL. So
there we go. All right.
You guys cannot go.
Look, I'm a millennial. I don't like labels.
Talk about your impeachment trial is going nowhere, and all you are going to do is make people.
Wait a minute. Peter, hold on for a second. So whether it's going do you think because OJ was found not guilty that he wasn't guilty, for example? I mean, it went nowhere. That was an expensive trial. It went nowhere.
Why do you always go off the topic? You try to,
I'm not off the topic. I'm talking about holding someone accountable. I'm talking about holding someone accountable for laws they broke or actions they took. And you're saying, no, look, since he got away with it, we got to let him go because you're hurting your feelings, Peter. You're concerned that your feelings are being hurt.
Al, okay, if we could have a conversation without you interrupting because you don't like what I'm saying, that would be wonderful.
It's not that I don't like what you're saying. It's that you are making no sense, Peter. You are speaking antithetically to your own belief system.
You're protecting your callers. That's what CPT does.
I'm protecting? What do you mean I'm protecting my callers?
Hal, I listen to you. I listen to Joan Esposito. I listen to Dick Kay. And
good for you.
Tom Hartman. Your show, and I'll give you credit for this, Hal, your show is one of the few that has not banned me from talking. Tom Hartman, Dick Kay will not let me on their air anymore because they don't like what I say. And that's fine.
No, Peter, Peter, it's because you swear. And it's also because you beat a dead horse.
Oh, really?
It's dull. Peter, your argument is dull. I hate to break this to you, but you sound like a QAnon dead ender.
No, I'm not. The argument I make, Hal, you don't want to hear and you don't want your callers to hear.
What's the argument? What argument are you making other than let him go because it's over?
Trump for this time. He was acquitted last
for inciting a riot and an insurrection on the Capitol that resulted in the death of a police officer, the injury of over 160 police officers, the trampling death of a woman carrying a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, 3 people dying of heart attacks because they couldn't get medical services to them because of the crush of the mob, destruction of property, the attempted sale of a government laptop to Russians. That's why. Because he was down the street and he pointed at the building and said, "I'm going to walk down there with you."
And what else did he say, Hal? He said, "We're going to go down there and peaceably protest."
That was in the teleprompter. The rest of it was, you got to be strong. We're never going to take back our country unless you're strong. And we're going to go down there. And half the people had already left. And it's going to be wild. that's always I always think of peaceably and wild in the same thinking. Look, no, because you're being ridiculous, Peter.
No.
Do you think?
Like I'm saying, Hal, where were you guys on the summer of insurrection? Where were you when billions of dollars?
You listen to my show. You know where I was. Peter, hold on. Now we're going back to what you said. Peter, listen to me. You know where I was. You know where I was. Where was I, Peter? What did I say about political violence? What have I always said about political violence, Peter? What have I always said?
You're part of the left.
I don't care about that. I'm not talking about the left. I'm talking about me. Me. You talk to me, Peter. You're calling my show. And then you start throwing this you all nonsense around. It's garbage.
Hal gets a gold star for saying violence is bad. Good for you. Nancy Pelosi admitted that she didn't want to pass stimulus under Trump because it would have helped him. So now you guys are blaming Republicans.
No, she didn't.
Not passing stimulus. She most certainly
No, she did
Hal.
not. She did. She absolutely did not. I mean, I appreciate the talking points you're getting from Sean Hannity, but that is not That is not at all what was going on.
Al, I listened more to the.
They did pass a stimulus.
No, are you kidding me? Back in October.
Look, Peter, this all boils down to one thing. Let's settle on one thing at least. Let's argue one point and try to stick to it. That the idea is that you believe that Donald Trump should be able to say whatever he wants, either overtly or covertly to his supporters, that led to the death of a police officer in the storming of the Capitol. You do not believe he was responsible for the actions of his followers, even though they wear his hats like uniforms. They support everything that they say they would take a bullet for him or die for him. He gathered them together specifically to, quote, stop the steal. Not let your voice be heard, not march on Washington, not right to vote. The language was stop the steal, and I'm going to walk down there with you, and you got to be strong and right to. And you think he can say all that stuff because he threw the word peaceably in there, right?
You show me where he said go down and violently take over the Capitol. He didn't. And when
you show me where Al Capone. Wait a minute. You show me where Al Capone told his guys to go shoot someone.
Hal, there's not one Republican who came out in support of all that rioting. Not one. And yet, Kamala Harris...
Lauren Boebert was tweeting the location of the speaker from inside the building.
You guys are smoking crack when you're doing this show because you're...
No, you're thinking of the My Pillow guy.
No. I'm thinking of you guys. You guys are in this dreamlike state. And, the sad thing is we're going to hear
dreamlike state. My guy won.
And that's fine. That's fine. You guys talk about Trump all you want. Joe Biden's got a year to do his damage. He's already done terrific damage. Gas prices.
Oh, yeah? What's the damage that he did? Gas prices are rising.
He canceled out.
Really? That's it? Gas prices are going. Oil by cost of oil barrel. Okay.
Seriously? Are you kidding me?
That's the damage.
Smart enough to know gas prices affect everything in the economy? Do you not know that? Do you not know?
Yeah. Do you also know that? You also know that when they're severely depressed, that Trump literally engaged in a lowering of output to raise the cost of a barrel of oil to keep the economies of Russia and Saudi Arabia from collapsing.
No, that's what
he actively engaged in. You're going to see a rise in gas prices. You know why? Because people are using gas again. You know why they're using gas again? Because there's a plan to actually deal with the pandemic now. Because somebody actually cares about what happens.
I just saw him up at the podium, Hal. He had no plan. He said, we're going to suffer for another several months. That's just the way it is. Before the election.
No, that's because the plan is being implemented. There's a reality left behind. That is like saying your doctor has no plan for you because you're on the table getting open heart surgery. You have no plan to get you jogging again until the summer. It's ridiculous, Peter. Keep defending him and then live in this cloud that you actually believe that he's still president. I'm sure March 4th he'll still be president, and you and the QAnon shaman can move in together together, and you can go swear on Tom Hartman's show in some fantasy version of where you control the liberal agenda from.
I didn't swear on
I know.
Tom Hartman.
We got to hit a break. Peter, I've let you have an outsized amount of time, and I didn't shut you down. I just answered what you were saying because you will never, ever back down from your support of Donald Trump, no matter what he does. His sexual assaults don't matter to you. The missing kids don't matter to you. The fact that we entered a deficit that he doubled the deficit to $1 trillion during his entire presidency doesn't matter to you, and it never will. We'll be back.
Well, it's a good thing you got Chicago Sound to me in time for Peter.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't want to miss that.
Ding dong.
Christopher Walken, you're talking to me all wrong. It's the wrong tone. Oh, God. I mean, this is the attempt, This is what they go for. But the weird thing is that I don't know why the Peters of the world expect me to be upset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, literally, there is no gotcha to what they're saying. It's so fundamentally obvious that Trump is the single worst president we've had in the modern era. He is he's a second coming of Hoover. It's just, yeah. And he's like, aha! They're like, I don't know what you're chasing. I don't know why you think that matters. No. It's just, it's fascinating listening to them go all in. I mean, I love when they put me in the same box as as like, you liberals, whatever that kind of, like, all right, now that's where we're going. By the way, it's my mug again, and sorry, it's see-through because of the amount of yellow I have to take out of my screen, which is why I appear as pink as I do.
Coming back in 10.
The lack of yellows. Thanks. But it makes my face disappear. It's a magic trick. I think Johnny, you can see mine. Yeah, you can.
I'm Dick Dave.
Kind of goes on sometimes.
Here is the mega worldwide radio program with Hal Sparks.
So it should come as no surprise that the GOP is full of dead enders like Pete, and this is what they have left Pete. Right now, and that they are so. I mean, maybe it's Obama derangement syndrome that is transferred into Biden derangement syndrome. That is some sort of a Democrat derangement syndrome. That's a socialism derangement syndrome, that they kind of bounce around in their head. All those things just live in there rent free, while they project that onto people who they allege or think or believe in some ways that we hate Donald Trump, and therefore that's why we don't like his policies or what he was doing. That it's a personal vendetta against him as a human being, that it blinds us to the good he was doing. When I would argue that doubling the deficit and being all up in Jerome Powell's grill to lower the interest rate to near nothing, to 0.25%, to literally just constantly priming the pump of the economy with no safety valve, so that if any real problem arrives, you have nothing left to do anything with. Like the increase in the debt under Trump, considering the fact that we didn't enter a new war. And this is pre-pandemic. We hadn't hit a big reason to pour money in this, even including the rebuilding of the military. In theory, is a 10-year budgetary plan that's just enormous, $800 billion a year. Or every 3 years, 3 year cycles or whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
225. So they seem to, in their eyes, because I don't like Donald Trump as a human being for all the genital grabbing he likes to do, and the palling around with Jeffrey Epstein, and I wish Ghislaine Maxwell well, and we used to hang out in West Palm Beach, and something awful happened to her boyfriend in jail, and the perfect call to Zelensky, I'm going to need you to do us a favor, though, if you want that money, and the attacks on on Biden as cover for him doing exactly what he says, that it's really not that. It's that I just have a personality conflict with the dude that makes me not
abrasive.
Understand that his tax cut, which he says is the biggest in history, A, isn't, and B, only made the corporate side of the tax cut permanent, meaning the individual tax cut that he gave people was temporary. It was a trick.
And they're already going back up.
Yep. And they will. Meanwhile, the corporate taxes won't. So I'm going to let these guys in on a little something. I pay attention to policy. It's how I got from, it's why, along with being a spectacular actor and a hilarious stand-up comedian on my own, and a fine musician, I would argue at this point.
You are a fine musician.
Thank you very much. From a fine musician, that means a lot. That over the course of my career, why I've also done this show as my civic duty, I view, and why I've gotten involved in this stuff is because I'm a policy wonk and I like the deep reads of this stuff. I pay attention to the details of things that just seem to go by the wayside, even when friends of mine are arguing for something. That sometimes I'll go, I know you're arguing for this, but you might want to know that this actually is a poison pill that makes it not worth arguing for. Or that this isn't as bad as you think it is because it's actually got a couple of great things in it that outweigh that. Those kind of arguments. I'm capable of having those because I care enough to look past that part of it. So the idea that it's a personality conflict with Trump is really just the fallback of that crowd to cover for the fact that really they're just sycophants for the man himself. That I must hate him for his personality because they are completely enamored with his personality.
And they like him because why? They want to be able to act that way someday.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the mega church version of things. Where the mega church, the big Christian pastors who all seem to love him so much. All of whom, by the way, I watched a compilation of all of them that predicted he was going to win. Oh boy. The number of people who predicted that he was gonna win the election and be in for 8 years straight, and these straight up prophesied, the Lord spoke to me directly. There are, I'm not kidding, dozens of these people with gigantic followings. Huge churches, thousands of people that gather every weekend in their church who believe that this person is getting the direct line of communication from the Lord, which is, I don't know how it's spelled, but that's how it's pronounced. The Lord.
Lord.
The Lord. Loward. Or just quite frankly, Lowered. Lowered down to my level. That they are saying that he not only should have won, but did. And will win, and will be back, and he's going to, and he really did win. And it is so clear that this is a cult of personality now that it explains why they can't grasp that people might not like Trump and his minions and the people around him and the kind of scattered glass of the broken vase of Trumpism that's laying around threatening everybody's bare feet. That it isn't a personality thing. That a lot of these folks, if they were in a club while I was performing or something like that, I wouldn't immediately single them out, not knowing their political beliefs, just because I didn't like the way they talk or their drawl or how big their belt buckle was or some nonsense. I hang out with those kind of people all the time. I'm from Kentucky originally. I grew up in Chicago. I live in Vegas right now and Los Angeles. I'm back and forth all the time. I was until COVID. Now it's basically lockdown. But I've been all over this country. and I get along with all kinds of people. I like people in general. It's one of the reasons why my job is so fun. So it might be, and I'm going to just plant this and leave this here for the Peters of the world. It might be that you might want to look at the minutia of what you're talking about and understand when you deal with the facts of the circumstance, it should trigger embarrassment on your part. Just saying. If you believe that you're a Christian, if you believe you're conservative, if you believe in family values, if you believe in those kind of things, then you should be fundamentally embarrassed by the entirety of every legislative act that Trump put forward, not his personality. Put his tweets out of it. But no. We got a few minutes before the next break. Let's take another call. If we have any, we'll see. Do we have any others?
Yeah, it's Steve from the Gold Coast.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Right on. Hey, hello. Steve. Welcome. How are you?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Yes,
absolutely.
Thoroughly interesting conversation you had with Peter. This sort of thing, this concept of an analogy, he doesn't seem to grasp because that's what you were trying to convey to him. So, by his logic, John Gotti, having earned the nickname Teflon Don, was not actually guilty of any of those crimes which he was acquitted of. So therefore, the fact that Donald Trump may be acquitted here pretty much absolves him. And as you pointed out, O.J. was not guilty by virtue of the fact that a jury didn't find him guilty. And by the way, also keep in mind that our impeachment process is flawed in such a way as to allow people who have a connection to the person on trial to adjudicate the trial. So in other words, it would be like saying that, that I'm in business with you, and if, by the way, you get convicted and end up going to prison, it's obviously going to have an adverse effect on my bottom line. They would never allow me to serve on that jury. Yet in the U.S. Senate, that's exactly what happens. So
that's right.
The notion of whether or not Trump is going to be convicted has very little to do with whether or not he's guilty. That's why we have scholars and researchers and historians, and they judge these sorts of things. I mean, there are very few people who are willing to argue in scholarly circles that Johnson's acquittal by one vote in the 19th century means he was not guilty.
Right.
It's politics. So
arguably, Steve, I would also let me, if I may, that this is not a trial, not in the classic sense. That it is, even when they're saying this is, there is a element of politics to it, and that if the person is to be tried, especially if it's the president, according to the rules of the DOJ, they have to be impeached first before they can be tried of the crimes. And they have to be removed from office. They can't do it while they're in office, mainly because they got their levers on power. Their hands on the levers of power. So that if they take their grip off, the whole country goes awry. So you can't bother them with a criminal trial unless they've been impeached. Now he's already out of office, so wrongful death suits and whatever are heading his way. Make no bones about it. But the disqualifying him from the future is.
Right. And that goes to my second point, which is, it's not a mystery that you're not hearing much from Donald Trump because despite the fact that he's been banned from certain platforms, there are plenty of places where he could find a voice. You could start up a platform tomorrow and have Donald Trump as your only member.
He's got his own website. He's got multiple websites. You could have dozens.
Exactly, and he's not saying much, which should tell me. See, these people are suffering from this sort of disillusionment because this is the same thing that you had when you had these cults that predict the end of the world. Guess what? The world.
That's right.
End. And then they have to come up with a way to explain something. Well, Donald Trump, it turns out, these people thought that our fearless leader was going to pretty much grant us some sort of amnesty. After the fact, before he leaves office.
Right.
So, if the FBI shows up at my door and arrests me, don't worry. Before the 20th, Donald Trump was going to issue a blanket pardon all of us who stormed it. Didn't happen, as it turns out.
Right. Wasn't going to.
Joe Biden on the 20th was not arrested by some secret cabal.
Right. He was not. Marines didn't helicopter in and arrest him and put an ankle bracelet on and put him in Guantanamo, where Hillary was already there waiting with Tom Hanks and like any number of and Mike Flynn was there to preside over the military tribunal. Good Lord.
Exactly. And it's the fact that these are, as you pointed out, I think it's a really important point, that this is a diverse group of people. This is not one group of nuts. So yeah, you have the racist nuts, you have the anti-government nuts, the gun nuts, and they found this common ground in Donald Trump. And then, basically manipulated them, used them, and when their usefulness ran out, he went back to his life in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, the idea that so many of these people who Donald Trump wouldn't cross the street to spit on, had some sort of affinity for this man, a Manhattanite.
Yes.
This boggles the mind to me, but this is the world in which we live.
But that's, I mean, it's always, you have to talk about, like, this lines up with the kind of people who would mail their life savings to Robert Tilton, and other TV preachers and the like. And I think it's quite ironic that effectively by meeting with Marge Greene and some others is that, I mean, if I was Rand Paul and the rest of the Q folks, I would be upset because clearly he's leaving them for a younger, hotter nutcase. This is, he's literally, he just gets bored and moves on to the next group of sycophants. This is also a part of this. Now, I have to say, judging from that picture of him alone with Kevin McCarthy, that I honestly believe that there is no situation where Donald Trump is a verbal force for this movement in anything, the whole, like, him setting up his own website, doing this kind of thing, without just kind of blathering on Twitter, which is relatively low-rung work and very easy to do, and being able to just throw those rocks in the pond and create waves very easily without any effort. He's kind of neutered in that regard, because crafting a statement...
Right. I mean, it's one thing... Right. It's one thing to start a grassroots effort and to sit there and put in 12 hours a day. Yeah, Donald Trump doesn't do that thing. I mean, the man is a lazy human being.
Yes.
And intellectually and in every other way. So yeah, it's easy to tweak policy, which never comes about and never materializes. I mean, think about all of the things that we were waiting for. The magical health care plan that America was
in 2 weeks.
Never arrived.
Everything.
And you had policy after policy that was always coming and yet never arrived. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the Donald Trump is going to promise people all sorts of things, but now that he's out of office, he basically has no interest. Right now, he has an interest in staying out of jail, and he could care less about these people who supported him.
And I think a lot of what's left for him too is this possibility of, like, wrongful death suits by thousands of people who had COVID and the like, and said just his absolute mismanagement. The fact that he told Bob Woodward that he knew it was more contagious and kept that from the public, there are a lot of people who could form a reason for doing a class action lawsuit against him as an individual because he acted against the better information. They stopped the CDC from doing its job. It's not like you can sue the U.S. government for that circumstance because he was actively in a position to be able to stop people from getting this information out. And even still, it leaked out. Even still, people at the CDC were letting these things out.
And my last point, and this is interesting because, Peter seems to want us to move away from talking about Donald Trump when the reality is that we didn't know a lot about what went on in this administration. Yeah. Why? Because you have the power to cover things up in the executive branch when you're the head of the executive branch. So now that Trump is gone and we have access to these things, and we had it from all sorts of people, including the people who were actually running the COVID operation under Trump, who now said, you know what, we were silenced. Data was altered. The American people were lied to. So as we go on, we're going to find out more and more about what Trump did wrong. And now apparently people like Peter want us to just simply forget about it. Just simply sit there and just act like it never happened. But meanwhile,
because you have to ignore it. You have to ignore it or the whole thing collapses. You have to, he's got to live in this kind of perfect bubble that they've created in their heads for him. Because if we start looking into it, if the details start to come out, and it becomes more and more obvious that not only was he a clown in way over his head, but also a nefarious cretin who was in there just to benefit himself and did all kinds of, like, horribly illegal and dangerous things while he was in there. As that information comes out, as people who are worried about losing their jobs or losing their livelihoods or even losing their lives in the Republican Party start to be able to speak out and start telling the truth about interactions they had because he no longer has power over them. Just like when a mob boss goes away, people write books about what it was like to kill for, these mob bosses or to be under their thumb, or what they had to do to just keep their store open when these guys controlled the neighborhood. As those people get to a point where they feel safe, that's when you start finding this out. And people are like, you know what, just put that on the shelf and forget about it. Although that just makes it possible for the next person to come along, because if I just get away with it, if I can just get far enough away from the bank, no one will try to arrest me. If I just can cover myself this distance.
Right. It's the same reason that people today are still teaching about the evils of Adolf Hitler. The man has been dead quite a while, but yet we still talk about it for some reason. Why?
Right.
Because there's a lesson in morality.
Because it could happen. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the call, Steve. We went way over the break, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk, and it was good talking to you. We'll be back right after this. We have kind of a short segment in this, so Johnny and I are going to talk about a particular story that I sent him that I think is almost a happy ending. Almost. We'll be back right after this.
Happy.
I mean, having an actual pandemic plan, reinstating the pandemic preparedness plan that we have going forward with the new information that we have, and strategizing to already prime the pump in certain areas, going, okay, what are our biggest dangers? These 5 pathogens, these 5 pathways. Start working at the NIH and the CDC and other groups to, by the way, are you in Mr. Rogers' office?
No, this is Michael Scott's office from The Office.
Oh, right. Okay. Because he's got the little sleep train horn, and then the battling, the boxing.
And he's the proud owner of a Seiko timepiece, and it's misspelled.
Oh, see. Hold on with me. Murph, are you in here? Murph came down and was meowing at me during Steve's call, so I had to.
Murph.
Yes, don't forget to hit the like. You're betting it's the dildo story. The what?
Wow.
It's not. But you can't just say the dildo story and not let us know. What do you mean the dildo story?
Yeah.
Back in 15.
I never get to bet on dildos.
No, not ever. I mean, that would be a weird day at the track. I'm just saying.
It would be.
Double Ender's coming down there. He's wiggling around the outside. Sorry.
Double Ender.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending. Yay!
We kind of do have a happy ending. It is the first time in a long time that we have had a happy ending for all practical purposes. And that, of course, is that we do indeed have a pandemic response plan.
Yay!
As released by the White House, there is a 200-page national strategy for the COVID-19 response and pandemic preparedness. So dealing with this and pandemic preparedness. We solve this problem, and we make sure there's not one waiting in the wings right behind it. When we think we're free and we open up again, if there's another pathogen waiting in the wings, we have to be ready to make sure that it doesn't hit us as hard as last time. And so we get our pandemic response team back in and stuff. A 200-page. Do you know how beautiful that is? Do you know the level of... It has an appendix. I am so excited. It states the absolute goals of it, why they're important. It provides them all these to the states. It breaks down the cases in region over time. By the way, I'm going to hold this up to the screen. I think you can see it. Look at the South. Look at the one that's spiking the most, Johnny Million.
Can't quite see it.
There are 4 graphs, and the COVID cases by region over time are absolutely the Northeast. Very high peak in the beginning, and it dipped, and then it's leveled out almost like 2/3 of the way up from where it was. The South is just overwhelming. The South and the West, especially, as we get into the areas that blew it off, that forgot about it. So anyways, that's good news. Let's stick to the kind of good news part of this, is that we've got this and it is kind of it's a beautiful thing. I do want to again. Do you want to read the? Can you read the title? I just want everybody to hear this story. Yeah, read the headline of this story. This is straight out of Texas, so it sounds like a Florida man story, but it's not.
It absolutely does. So the Texas DPS mistakenly sends out Amber Alert for Chucky doll.
Right. I guess the Department of Public Services or whatever.
Probably.
Yeah. In San Antonio, an alert published by the Texas Alert System with an Amber Alert for the Chucky doll and his child was sent out Friday morning. The alert listed Chucky from Child's Play horror series as a suspect. He's described as a 28-year-old with red auburn hair, blue eyes, stands 3'1", weighs 16 pounds, and with a striped long sleeve shirt, and wielding a kitchen knife prior to his quote disappearance. The alert also listed Glenn as an abducted child who is 5, weighs 6 pounds, stands at 2'3", also has red auburn hair and blue eyes. Glenn was described as wearing a blue shirt and black collar prior to his disappearance. According to the Chucky fandom pages, Glenn is the son of Chucky and was introduced in the film Seed of Chucky. While the alert appeared to be a mistake, it was sent out via email 3 separate times to subscribers of the Texas Alert System Friday morning. It's unclear at this time how many people are subscribed to the system. The alert was the result of a test malfunction. We apologize for the confusion this may have caused and are diligently working to ensure this does not happen again. Signed, Annabelle. So I'm on the stream. I'm actually holding up my Chucky doll right here for those of you that have never seen one. He's a good guy.
That's intense.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's from the movie Seed of Chucky. So it's interesting to me that like that story, why this is kind of good news, is that story, as silly as it is, made it to the front page of the Daily Beast and a couple of other newspapers like of record. And along with Joe Piscopo having Mike Lindell on his radio show. Yes, that Joe Piscopo.
Oh, wow.
To talk about the conspiracies that he has because they're business partners, apparently. Apparently, Mike Lindell owns the patents and trademarks on a line of supplements that he developed with Joe Piscopo.
There we go.
Called, wait for it, Nutrijoe.
Okay.
And contrary to popular belief, it is not coffee with vitamin B in it. Which it should be, and I'm very disappointed
like water
it isn't.
Joe.
Nutrijoe. How do you not Nutrijoe? Right? It's a cup of Joe. It's No, it's Joe Piscopo's line of because Joe Piscopo notably became a weightlifter or a bodybuilder after.
Yeah.
Remember, for a while. So that was part of it. But the fact that story made it to the front page means that we're over the last couple of days we've had scandals. Clutch the pearls. Scandals in the Biden White House, like what watch is he wearing?
Yeah. Does he actually use a Peloton exercise bike?
Yes. Does he? Yeah. His Peloton. Is it going to be hooked up to Wi-Fi? Is it? Understand? We just had a president leave who outed an Israeli agent to Russians in the Oval Office, and that agent is dead. Think about that for a second. And now we're concerned about the security of the Wi-Fi in Joe Biden's Peloton. The world is getting better. Do you understand? Like, if that's what we're concerned about, I'm here for it. If that's our biggest worry, let's do this. We'll be back next week for the show. Johnny Million will be back with us as well. Follow at Johnny Million 1 on Twitter. I'm at Hal Sparks on Twitter. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing and supporting on the show through Venmo and other sources. I appreciate it greatly. Bits and stuff on Twitter. And if I haven't been following those, I'm going to give a big thank you out as soon as we're done with the show and we're on the regular live stream, because I want to say hi and thank you to you guys, because while I blaze and talk during the show, I kind of... It's a lot to focus on. So anyways, you guys are wonderful. We'll be back next week. Stick around for Dick K on WCPT or hang around for the post show on the live stream. Cheers. Thanks, Devin. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Hal and Johnny. I'll see you guys next week, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Here, I'm going to sign off on here. And then I think Stuttering John asked me to be on his show, but I think at 1:30. I think. So I might have to get off early because he might have meant noon, but I don't know. So I got to figure that out on my end. Yeah.
I've got to go do some housey things myself.
Honeydew.
That's right. And thanks for your patience with my audio today. That was my mistake.
Whatever. I went through, I at this point, I'm like a pilot with my checklist.
Yeah, I should have been.
Here's what you got. And this is why I didn't type into the thing right away. Aviate, navigate, communicate. I want you to remember that.
Oh my God.
I'm dead serious. So, I was getting my pilot's license and being here, like Vegas, the weather's like the heat's makes the air very choppy and bumpy. So it's really hard to take lessons here. But every time I would be in LA and I would go to do a lesson, I'd have to cancel it because the cloud ceiling was so low that, you can't legally fly unless you've already done your solo. And I haven't done it yet because I'm getting there and all that stuff. So it just screwed my whole lesson plan up. And then this happened and stuff. So I'm actually going to go spend some time at my dad's and go to a flight school there for like 2 weeks straight at some point and just knock it out, finish up what I need to get. But one of the things they teach you, which is, fly the dang plane, which is what you always hear, is aviate, navigate, communicate. Meaning, do what you got to do. Your first job is, and in the case of doing a radio show, it's keep talking, no dead air, make sure that the content is going out. Navigate is the technical. Then check your dials. And then communicate what your problem is or whether or not. So that'll always be third. So if I just keep chattering in those moments, it's because I'm aviating and navigating.
You're aviating.
In that regard.
Keep the plane up.
But it's like when you're playing on stage live. You're like, okay, aviate, navigate, communicate. Like, I can fix what I can fix right here. I got to play. I'll keep playing and singing, even if nothing's coming out of the guitar, because I'll just do that or whatever. And then navigate, I'll check the connection on my guitar. I'll look down at my pedals. I'll step on them, make sure that everything's going out the way it is. Then, if, I'm all right, I'll sing my part, and I get a break in the sing part. I'm like, I need help, and then somebody comes. So that's that's your stages, and that works really well. I find whenever you're running up against an active problem, you're in the middle of doing a job or doing something, and stuff falls apart. That's the one thing that I carried away from like flight school that I just remember, like, okay, what qualifies as aviating, navigating, communicating in this circumstance, and just stick to those. So I wasn't ignoring you. I was just talking and doing radio.
No, you were on the air.
Yeah. So there you go. And never skip the checklist. Well, that I've gotten better at, which is good. Now I've got to check.
Love you, Hal.
Okay. All right. Bye. See you later. Take off. See you later. Okay. Bye. I still have my Zoom background up from the Nowhere comedy special I did. Let's see, which is, you can see right here. That's what Johnny was seeing during the show, so you know. But hi guys, hold on, let's shut that. Let's see, end meeting. Yes, because we had to do it via Zoom because Skype was. I thought Skype might be the problem, and then it turned out it was just Johnny Million's thing, and as you do, I just feel like I want to dive in whenever I get with you guys in here, even if I've done the regular show. I feel like I want to continue to do. Throws glitter. I want to continue with the regular stream I do. It's like, it's hard not to, because of all the the lunacy that is going on currently. I'm just honestly fascinated by just where the right wing are right now. You have 15 hours in a siesta, and that's really nice. Starting John is at noon. Thanks. I don't know if he wants me on at noon or if he's having me on later in it, because sometimes he has me come in and button the show up at the end. Yeah, so I'll check and make sure. Let's see. But I had a clip that I was going to maybe do later on. My thing is full. It's so funny. Oh God. Oh God. No, it's like some of this stuff I'm like, I just don't want to inflict this crap on you. Like, you don't need this in your life, this madness. But I mean, I think some of you have seen whoops. Am I on the wrong key? Yes, I am. Yes, we do live in challenging times. It is absolutely true. And we will continue to some degree. And I love how people are like, because Biden's being honest about the circumstance we find ourselves in. Let's see. Cool. So Chris Titus is going to join us for an upcoming show as well. He just confirmed with me. I tried to get him on because D couldn't be on. I was like, oh, maybe Titus can come on. I'll do what I can to, get him in there, because that would be kind of fun. And then CSL. Oh God. Oh, it's up already, isn't it? Dear Lord. All right. I don't know if I'll have time for this whole nonsense, but I feel like if you want to dive into this, oh God. Oh God. Remember, like, this is what he was talking about when he was on Steve Bannon's show. If America's not first, who is? China. That's what he's going to say, basically. That's the argument. If America's not first, who is? You mean if Russia's no longer first, who is? Good Lord. All right, Billy Hutchins says, let's do it. Yeah, I can't stand him either.
Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and I'm back with Rudy's Common Sense.
Which is, I mean, at this point, you should put a TM on the end of it. Rudy's, or like air quotes. I'm back with Rudy's Common Sense. It's his own brand.
Today, we're going to look at another aspect of the beginning Biden administration and the theme that is propounded in this particular context.
Notice there's no, we don't have two iPads up. We don't have, there's no hard drive sitting there, just like dismantled on the. Rudy, where's the hard drive?
So that we can get a sense of, where are we going over the next
where are we
4
going?
years. So.
Well, that's progress, I guess.
One of the themes, I guess, one of the two major themes of the Trump administration, along with Make America Great Again, was America First.
Yeah. Let me, if I may, let's see. America First. Let's just go with racist. That should bring up the thing. Let's see. Images. Just in case anybody doesn't know what Rudy's talking about. This is a classic Dr. Seuss cartoon. I'm not kidding. Really drawn by Dr. Seuss. Yeah. Adorable, wouldn't you say? Uh-huh. That's yeah. And please tell me that suppose Rudy can't know about this stuff. He doesn't know about this. Nobody knows about that. Like, who can possibly know what this is? And on this platform, folks, most perplexing people, the lads with the Siamese beard, unrelated by blood, they are joined in a manner that mystifies the mightiest minds in the land. The great U.S. sideshow. America First and the Nazis. Yeah. Voila. Come on, Sam. Try the great German manicure. Anti-Semitism. Whoa. Yeah. See where the America First kind of stuff? Here's another one. Remember, no punting, no passing, no plunging. Just dig in your 1-inch line and win. Coach America First. Hey, hide if you have to, but by thunder, stop nibbling. U.S. morale, America First. He's got his head in the sand, but he's nibbling at the roots of U.S. morale while America sits on top. So as long as we, okay, here's the America First thing. Vote with care in November 42, and you'll never get hurt in a war. America First. Look at that. Kaboom. Just got his feet up, and he's just sitting there. Just in case you wonder, yeah, these are all Dr. Seuss cartoons against the America First crowd because it was based in anti-Semitism. It was supportive of the Nazis. It was an attempt to keep us from stopping the Nazis from killing the Jews. That's what it was for.
And that applied to many things, such as tariffs, contributions by Europe to treaties in which they had made very little contribution.
No, they made lots of contributions. Everybody was down after 2008. Everybody was growing back to their normal amount, basically 2%. Many of them couldn't. That's what the treaties say. If you can, you do. If you can't, you don't. Yeah.
Regulations that favor America over other countries, and the sense that other countries could take care of themselves. America should put itself first and have other countries negotiate for what's best for them rather than just give it to them. So that was, I think, both a theme and something that, whether you thought it was correct or not, Trump carried out in.
No, he didn't.
All, if not all, of his policies.
All, if not all of his policies.
Biden very early on announced that he was not going to follow an America First policy.
No, he said he was not going to use the America First phrase. They were not going to use the America First terminology.
And he made that quite prominent in distinguishing.
And I can't imagine why he would shy away, considering who the people in his cabinet are, why he would, or the people that voted for him, why he would shy away from America First as a concept in those terms. Why in the world would he shy away from using the phrase America First? Even though if you listen to what he's talking about, he, like every other president, talks about what's good for the United States and primarily and then for the world, because they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. Trump's problem wasn't that he was putting America first, is that this was an attempt to put our allies last so that Russia could get a grip on the area.
Himself from Trump. He never really told us what he would substitute for.
Yeah, he did. He, like a Buy America policy, for example, he actually removed some of the waivers that Trump gave for us to buy, foreign goods that we could get from U.S. manufacturers in terms of what the U.S. government spends. So he eliminated those waivers. Trump did a bunch of those, so he could say he was doing America first while lining the pockets of his foreign partners.
And from the very beginning, it's been my question: if America's not first, where is it? Are we second? Are we third? Are we off the list in some cases?
He said he used this line once before.
So I think you can get some indications of where we're going here from his very quick, some might say impulsive, 17 executive orders signed.
Impulsive. By the way, there's over 40 now, and they weren't impulsive. They were all drafted up as soon as the election was done, and some even like before, because they were planning, if we do get elected, what are we going to do? Well, let's see how much of it we can do and what the languaging would look like. Let's run it through our lawyers and get all that stuff done. We'll call a lid for the day and just work on this. How do we fix this? Write an executive order that actually has some teeth and some function to it.
The first day he was in office, and then a group of others that amount to about 30. Some of them are quite neutral and might say almost just needed, but many.
Oh, that's very generous of you, Rudy.
Many show
some of Biden's executive orders are just needed. Just needed. What a weird phrase. Just needed. Like a life preserver. It's just needed. Understand, Kenneth, no problem.
Very, very strong partisan leanings and choose clearly one side of the debate over the other.
Well, yeah, he won with 80 million votes. Seriously, Harpo Marx couldn't make weirder faces.
Just definitively. And it's done in a way that is designed to cause disunity and friction, because it's done by executive order rather than congressional debate, congressional discussion, even.
Yeah. He signed them in executive order, not because they would get through the debate and all those kind of things, but because he just wants disunity.
Rulemaking, where you bring people in and listen to both sides. This was done summarily, without input by Congress, Republican or Democrat, without any visible input from anyone but the people that meet with him in the basement.
In the basement? You mean in the White House?
So it had a very, very dramatic effect.
By the way, is Trump above ground right now? Is he in the basement of Mar-a-Lago? Does Mar-a-Lago have a basement? Probably.
Of course, the fawning media didn't really bother to analyze it, but I'm going to analyze him from point of view.
Oh boy, guys, he's going to analyze it. He's taken time off from the other half of the hard drive to analyze executive orders. Let's hear it.
Can we shed some light on? We know America is not going to be first under Biden.
Okay.
He said it's not going to be first.
No, he didn't. He said he's not using the term America first. That's why. He's not using the term America first because of that. But go ask Marge Greene about her, and the gangrene she's forming. Ask her about her attitude towards this original America First. They're big fans of this one. That's why.
But where is it going to stand on some of the critical issues of our day?
All right, critical issues. Rudy, do it.
And these executive orders deal with some of the critical issues of our day. So I'll do them in the order in which they were presented.
Right. What do you think? First time even glancing at them? Yeah?
Rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. Highly controversial.
No, not at all. The vast majority of Americans are aware of climate change, and why it's necessary to deal with it, and also pollution in general. Like, nobody's less than that. Most of us grew up, the oldest people watching this stuff online grew up with the weeping Native American looking at trash on the side of the highway, that ad campaign. We understand that, air pollution sends 100,000 kids to the emergency room, regardless of during or not during COVID, every year. The Paris Accord deals with a lot of that, but I'm sure he's going to go, so this is so China can get ahead and India can forget about it, and we're going to clean up our act, but they're going to keep poisoning, as if, yeah.
Highly partisan. People who agree with it as if it's necessary to save the world, and some of them actually have predicted the end of the world before now.
No one predicted the end of the world before now. I mean, no one, is he talking about Inconvenient Truth in the 2010 number, like the tipping point number, or peak oil, or just Jesus should be back by now fixing the sky?
I think.
Yeah, he was Italian American. Good point.
I think Gore said it was going to end in 2010.
No, he didn't say it was going to end in 2010, but keep thinking that, glory hole.
Don't know what kind of calendar Al goes by, but I mean, I think it's good news even for Gore that it didn't. Maybe.
Maybe. That's me making a joke that even I don't understand. Huh?
But
honestly, what was that? What was that? Rudy.
So do you think the world's going to end? I think AOC has a date for the end of the world. And therefore, should you agree to an
has AOC posted that? Is it on her Instagram? Guys, during her Twitch stream, did she bring up when the end of the world was?
Agreement that you believe is so necessary.
Hype train.
To the survival of the world that you're going to be very unfair to the United States. Because in this Paris Accord, America's last.
No, it isn't. Hey, asshole, I read it. I read pieces of it on air. Have you read the Paris Accord? Do you know how many outs there are? Do you know how everything is optional? It's an accord. It's not even a treaty. It's an accord. We are all in accordance with what's best for each of us. We're going to do our best to try and solve this.
America gets to put in money. Probably.
Everybody does. What? Probably what, Rudy?
A lot more than anybody else.
Probably. Why don't you look it up? You got paper right in front of you. How much money do we put in and how much more are we putting in than other people, Rudy? Explain it. Jesus.
If not equal to the highest contributor.
Thanks, Robin. I mean, I appreciate you noticing, but I don't know where else I've ever seen anybody, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just astounded that anybody looked it up, and then showed it on air. It's not even that long. What was it? 8 or 12 pages? 24 pages?
A number of restrictions fall upon America.
On everybody, and they're not restrictions. They're goals.
Require us basically to be done with fossil fuels by 2040 or...
Yeah, look it up. What does it say?
Something like that.
Something like that? How are you supposed... All right, goddammit. This asshole is telling us that the climate accords, that the Paris Agreement is terrible for America. America comes last. We're going to pay a lot more money than other people, and we got to get rid of it by 2040 or something. It requires us requires. And by 2040, can I... Okay. I mean, this was almost... let's see if I can find it comes up quick enough. Here you go. Here, this is pretty cool. By 2040, you say? Well, look at this. GM announcement shakes up U.S. automakers' transition to electric cars. Every car maker is trying to figure out how to make the leap before government force it, and Tesla and other startups lure away drivers. Well, a new president took office. These large forces. GM's chief executive said that the company aims to sell only zero-emission cars and trucks by 2035, 5 years before the fossil fuel goal set forth in the imaginary deadline that Rudy is saying in his head. 5 years early. By 2035. Seriously. Her announcement just a day after Biden signed an executive order on climate change blindsided rivals who usually seek to present a united message on emissions and other policy issues, but it was also years in the making. GM has had a love-hate relationship with electric cars going back decades, but under Ms. Barra, who took over in 2014, it has inched its way toward a full embrace of the technology. She's also shown a penchant for making big moves that her predecessors may have considered brash or impulsive, given the company's reputation for deliberate or plodding to some decision-making. Chrysler GM, back in the day when Lee Iacocca took over Chrysler and wrote his book about all that leadership, Carter had made these emissions goals and made them laws to lower the emissions of these things. And instead of putting their money towards research and development, Chrysler, under Lee Iacocca, poured shit tons of money into getting the Congress to rescind, and Reagan to rescind those standards. But the Japanese in particular, and then the South Koreans had already said, well, if we're going to sell cars in the United States, we're going to have to meet those emission standards. So they just kept at it. And they ended up swamping all the American car manufacturers in the 90s, largely, in the late 80s, because their cars were more efficient. Because the line was set and they met it. She's saying they're gonna meet this in 5 years before even Rudy's imaginary deadline. This is General Motors, Detroit, the big three.
The cost would, the estimate from the reasonable people, let's say somewhere in the middle estimates are.
The reasonable people,
It'll cost 400,000 U.S. jobs, about 2.5 trillion in U.S. GDP.
The reasonable people? You mean the people who gave you the talking points on that piece of paper? Okay, so Rudy's now reading from a script, is what we now know. That's what this is about. Okay, I'm glad we're finally recognizing this. That this is essentially what we're seeing here. Rudy's gotten a little handout from the Newsmax CEO. He's auditioning.
It'll clearly raise household electric bills by at least 20%, something Obama candidly acknowledged as a.
By at least 20%. By 2040? Yeah. We're using, we've transitioned to renewables by 2040. Let's say your heating oil goes up. It's not, but let's just say it's a 20% rise in your electricity costs. What are the other tacit benefits you get? What does it offset in terms of healthcare and having to move entire cities? Right. Thank you, RVA Girl.
The consequence of the
and thank you guys for the cheering in there by Shadowski and Jezebel. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Mochi Crunch. Thank you very much for showing the love. Ezekiel, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Mochi Crunch again. Semantic Romantic, thank you. All right, God damn it, indeed. I'm out for now. Cheers. DJ Chip Hiley, thank you. Thanks, Cassie. Good to see you again. Arch Knight, thank you. Mochi Crunch, Mochi Crunch, Mochi Crunch, Mochi Crunch. Thank you so much. Yay. Cassie, thank you. Oh, thanks for gifting the subs, Cassie. I wanted to catch up on some of these. Shadowski, thank you. Thank you, Pixie Kitchen. Sorry, I didn't say that right. It's Pixie, where'd it go? Pixie Kitten Kitchen. Listen to me. Thank you, Yolanda Roy, for the super chat. And Kenneth, he said, is it possible to send a log-only EAS test, but if someone uses the send immediately codes, Chucky happens? I see. Oh, with the Chucky Amber Alert. Thank you, Eileen, for the super chat as well. And the old stoner and Lauren Ipsum, thank you again. And Benny Loco, thank you, reminding everybody to give a thumbs up. Appreciate that. And Richard Fleer, bless you. And Julius, thank you. He says, most of the tough guys that attacked the Capitol on January 6th would pee their pants if they had to serve in the front lines like many transgender Americans are willing to do. Excellent point. Benny Loco, Wiener on the phone. So thank you. And thank you, Maxwell. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anybody. Thank you so much, Benny Loco, for reminding everybody to give a thumbs up. And Brad, bless you. Thank you very much. Let's see. And yeah. Julius, thank you so much. And Angela and Zero Fire, thanks for hosting. I appreciate it. It's nice to have another viewer in there. By the way, if you're on Twitch and you want to ask somebody to, rate us over here or whatever at some point when I'm on, let them know. If you know anybody that's on before my 3 o'clock show, go over there and suggest a raid. If they're decent people. If they're not, then they can bugger off. I don't need them filling up my chat unless they might be interested. But if they are, super. And we couldn't, by the way, the other day, I tried to raid AOCs so we could send everybody over there. They've got raid turned off on their channel, was what it turned out to be, which I don't blame them.
Obama-Biden energy policy in 2008, and it will create market distortion in favor or against, distortion that would act against American industries.
Market distortion against American industries. So you're basically saying we're just ceding territory. We're not going to try and make renewables at all. We're not going to work on any of that over here. Okay.
It levels the playing field downward, basically the analysis. But here's what it does do.
What is
this
it
is
do?
a tremendous plus for China and to some extent India.
Right. What I say?
Because they don't fall under these strictures for quite some time. They get to...
They're already ahead of their goals.
They get to put into the atmosphere all the things that theoretically they say is making our world end. And they get to do it at rates that are
What are the rates like?
Way ahead of anything we could do. Our contribution, if we stayed where we are right now compared to them, is minuscule. Because we have
No, it isn't.
gotten down our emissions quite significantly.
Why? You're going to count when none of us have been going anywhere during COVID?
That would have arguably an effect on the climate changing. And I don't know, there are people who say that if you don't buy this completely, you're a climate denier.
Yeah. By what part?
I don't know how you can be a climate denier.
Well, you can believe that man has no impact on the climate of the planet, and therefore there is no reason to deal with hydrocarbons or chlorofluorocarbons or any kind of pollution, because God will wipe the sky clean all by himself. That would be the definition of it. That you're denying that man has a part to play in the overall climate and that we can do anything about it.
I am aware of the fact that this is winter, and pretty soon we're going to have spring. And my favorite piece of chamber music is Vivaldi's The Four Seasons. So I am not a climate denier.
That's him trying to be cute again.
My question is
about the extremity of the weather, is about the danger it poses to coastal cities and impoverished communities, especially in our country and others.
Is the end of the world imminent? And do we need...
No. So you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, start exercising or you're going to die. And you go, am I going to die tomorrow? No. Well, then exercise is bullshit. That's Rudy's argument right now, kids. That's it. You're allergic to what you're eating. And it's slowly, like smoking cigars like Rudy does regularly is going to give you mouth cancer. Is it going to give it, like, do I get mouth cancer as soon as I take a puff? No, it takes time. Well, then cancer from smoking is bullshit. That's what this is.
To completely destroy our economic recovery.
No, we're not. We're being part of the future.
Completely destroy our economy. And
we're not going to completely why would it completely destroy our economy if we're a part of making it? If coinciding with it is the buildup of a smart infrastructure that makes use of renewables, if those are, largely mandated by government and therefore are outside the trade restrictions with other countries so that Biden could actually order them made within the country and it wouldn't violate anything or get, us, like China be able to sue us because we're not buying solar panels from them because we're viewing it as a point of national security. That's why you craft it. That's why the infrastructure bill that Biden is putting up relates to that stuff. This is so stupid.
Engage in lies to the American people that we're going to be able to be free of fossil fuels in 10 to 20 years and keep these gigantic cities that are around us.
We're not free of it. Net zero.
Going. Because China isn't going to do it.
Yes, they are. They have worse pollution problems than we do. And they're newer at this. In the same way that India has got more cell phones than landlines because they couldn't afford landlines during the big telephone rush of the 20th century, of the 1900s. So they never got them. So now they're getting, cell towers laid out, and they've got cell phone service. They have phone service they've expanded cell service and phone service in India at such a high rate that if you compared it to phones entering households from, the invention of the phone until 1985, it was dragged out over decades. India did it in a matter of 12, 15 years because the technology is new. It works a lot better. The same thing is true of renewables. They're starting from scratch. A lot of these places are still using like water mills to grind flour. And, God.
So this is a China first policy. America could be dead last on this list here. This could be
nice try. Dead last. Or we could be innovative and great, and America could use all of its ingenuity, its financial power, and its industrial base to create the renewable technology of the future, and then focus also not on energy, basically being the furnace of the factory, but the factory itself.
China first, America last. I think that would be a fair.
It's not fair at all. It's dumb. It's what you've been saying all along. It's not based on information. You're just reading from whatever they gave you. Rudy is doing a show based on a handout he was given.
Indication, at least based on practicality.
No. Practicality would involve you actually reading the Paris Accord, you actually understanding the technology that's available and that will be coming online, and that you will understand the alternatives like thorium reactors and the like that are a possibility for making up for the bigger losses and in large industrial bases. And why you offset where giant cities where the transition may take longer, you offset those costs into smaller communities that don't require that same kind of pull.
What it's going to cost. I guess if you buy into the fact the world's going to end, then, well, China still does better.
Yeah, but in 2012, there were definitely some winners and some losers in the movie.
But since it might stop the end of the world, no, America still lasts in terms of what it's going to have to contribute and do to stop.
Yeah, we're going to be it's like he's like the general in Spies Like Us, where he's like, you're talking about worldwide destruction. If it's necessary to preserve the American way of life, then I'm for it.
Stop the end of the world. That's if you believe it will end the world. There is a very
which you don't. You deny that man's impact on the climate will cause catastrophic changes in our environment that will cause mass death and poverty, and which means you're a denier. Rudy's a denier.
Very complicated executive order reinstating critical theory and replacing equality with equity. I don't know.
Yeah, equality with equity. Important distinction, by the way, which Republicans in theory, like everyone else, would herald. Because equality means we all end up the same, which you can't actually mandate. You know what I mean? You can give us both. You can hand out running shoes. You can let everybody have a certain amount of training every day. You can have everybody step up to the line. But once the race starts, it's not going to end with everybody crossing the finish line at the same time, no matter what you do. No matter how even you make things at the beginning, equality is not an actual goal. But equity is making sure that, I don't get up to the line ahead of everybody else without deserving it for some reason, because I was early in the last race, whatever you want, because of my skill, blah, blah, blah. Or that I don't put shackles on other people's feet to slow them down, or trip someone, or rig it so they never get to arrive there. That's equity. That's the difference between equity and equality. And it's a very important distinction that the Obama and Biden administrations differ on in their languaging. Biden is very much focusing on equity because it's achievable.
This is very, very hard to describe, but it
because you don't understand it, Rudy. The reason it's hard, I just did. You can't understand it because either you don't want to understand it, which is probably part of the problem, or you are intellectually incapable of grasping the difference between equality and equity.
General theory in America has always been equal opportunity, not equality of results.
Yeah, that's the difference between equity and equality.
It kind of moves you much more toward equality of results. But
no, it doesn't. It actually establishes a guarantee of equity at the starting line so that people can actually compete based on their capabilities, and you can actually have flourishing Americans everywhere instead of I'm winning because I was guaranteed that these people got set back. That in and of itself is the true promise of America. Thank you, Julius. Although both promote fairness, equality achieves this through treating everyone the same regardless of need, while equity achieves this through treating people differently dependent on need. Well, and it's also because of where they ended up. How did they get there? If everybody gets the same chance of, getting to the starting line, then we have a real race. That's equity. Equality is if if no matter who trained. Oh, thanks. My hair is good today. It's a good time. It's getting there. I just, I'm wanting the front part, because it was shorter. It's taken it longer to grow out, obviously. But I'm looking for right about here. I'm very excited for this stuff to get to here. That's my dream right now. So I've got all kinds of sprays, and I'm trying to get some, while body will bring it up a little bit. If I put it in a towel, it gets very foof. So if I flat ironed it, it'd probably be to here. This is too much information.
But also in it, much more important, is it pledges to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Uh-huh.
So that would be destructive is an understatement.
Just destructive. For
small businesses that are being absolutely destroyed in Democrat cities.
Why? If it's observed across everything, then that means the minimum wage that's in all the other businesses, all the McDonald's, all the Starbucks, all the small single note franchise places, which take up an inordinate amount of the economy these days, that everybody works at a Chili's, at a Cracker Barrel. Everybody gets a minimum of $15, which more than likely is going to give them a little more time off. They won't have to work as many hours, and they will spend that extra money on those other small businesses.
Particularly my own, where it almost seems like the Democrat mayor and governor are at war with the restaurant industry.
At war with the restaurant industry. Oh, because they don't want restaurant patrons who regularly go to these restaurants to die.
I mean, I don't know, half of it's gone. You haven't been able to eat in a restaurant in New York since around Christmas, or Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Have you checked the death rates because of your president? I mean, he basically, after he lost the election, he just took his hands off the reins and stopped directing the CDC to do anything. There was never any federal response, but at least the illusion of it existing caused at least these fake BS 50. I talked to all 50 governors today, every 3 or 5 weeks. He would do one of these shows of, everything, you got everything you need? See, they've got everything you need. I don't know what I'm even doing here. That bullshit.
Yeah, at $15 minimum wage.
Uh-huh.
And that, I mean, the 50% that survive, half of that 50% will go.
Why? More people will have more money to spend, arguably, at those other restaurants.
So,
again, if there's a standard now and the standard raises, then people, if the base is $15 and you're making $15 because you're not the base pay, you got a raise. What he's really worried about is that everybody who's making double minimum wage right now at their job for being the manager is going to go, minimum wage is $15. I should be making $30 an hour for the amount of work I'm doing. Because that's what they're really scared of.
This is certainly American small business last. Nobody first, really.
Nobody first. Yeah, not anybody. Not even China? Really?
The anti-terrorist travel ban, which is, of course, called by the Democrats the Muslim travel ban, except it doesn't apply only to Muslims, and it doesn't apply only to Muslim countries. It included North Korea and Venezuela. It applies.
Yeah, that's not the part. That was always there.
To terrorist countries, and it doesn't.
Terrorist countries. So Venezuela is a terrorist country.
Ban them. It puts them through extra vetting.
No, it doesn't. The vetting is still there. Extreme vetting and a ban are totally different things.
We don't want to do that. We don't want to be a little more careful from countries with large numbers of terrorists.
Yeah, we are being a little more careful. Post 9/11, we have extraordinary vetting from those countries. That's the difference between that and a ban. A ban is, we're not vetting you, you just can't come.
That.
Even if you're trying to, by the way, escape either permanently or temporarily, depending on whether you're seeking asylum or you come here to join family or what have you, or you're just coming here for a little while to get away from it because there's the extremists and the violent people in your country are killing everyone. You want to be able to escape. You're a Coptic Christian, I don't know, maybe in Syria, and you'd like to get out of there while this is happening, and you have the means and wherewithal. You found a way to do it, and you get to the United States, and you're like, no. You got to go back and die.
They're not slipping in. They come in like
ew.
People from more peaceful countries, people from France or London or
yeah, the country of London is one of my favorite.
Canada.
Didn't the 9/11 hijackers come in through Canada?
This is the international world, and particularly these terrorist countries first, and certainly the safety of the American people dead last. Let's take a short break.
Yeah, let's take a short break real quick while I look, if I may. Let's see. Biden. Whoops. Sorry. Wrong one. Thank you very much. Biden. Muslim ban exec. Whoops. What is it? What's happening? And there it goes. My keyboard disconnected. While Rudy's in a break trying to sell us cigars or home title lock. Proclamation on ending discriminatory bans on entry to the United States by the President of the United States, a proclamation. The United States is built on a foundation of religious freedom and tolerance, principle enshrined in the United States Constitution. Nevertheless, the previous administration enacted a number of executive orders and presidential proclamations that prevented certain individuals from entering the United States, first from primarily Muslim countries and later from largely African countries. Those actions are a stain on our national conscience and are inconsistent with our long history of welcoming people of all faiths and no faith at all. By the way, this is even just visitors. Beyond contravening our values, these executive orders and proclamations have undermined our national security. They have jeopardized our global network of alliances and partnerships and our immoral blight that has dulled the power of our example the world over, and they have separated loved ones, inflicting pain that will ripple for years to come. They are just plain wrong. Make no mistake. Where there are threats to our nation, we will address them. Where there are opportunities to strengthen information sharing with partners, we will pursue them. And when visa applicants request entry to the United States, we will apply a rigorous, individualized vetting system. But we will not turn our backs on our values with discriminatory bans on entry into the United States. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, by authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including Sections 212F and 215A of the Immigration and Naturalization Act, 8 U.S.C. 1182F. By the way, the executive orders Trump signed were like, me does government's good. Like, they lacked all the standing and the other stuff. So, okay, accordingly, I hereby proclaim Section 1. Executive Order 13780 and Proclamations 9645 and 9723 and 9983 are hereby revoked. So that's the erasure of the Trump proclamations and executive order about the Muslim bans. The resumption of visa processing and clearing the backlog of cases in waiver processing. The Secretary of State shall direct all embassies and consulates consistent with applicable law. What was that? Consistent with applicable law and visa processing procedures, including any related to coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, to resume visa processing in a manner consistent with the revocation of the executive order and proclamations. Within 45 days of the date of this proclamation, the Secretary of State shall provide the President a report that includes the following elements. Number of visa applicants who are being considered for a waiver or restrictions under proclamation on the date this proclamation and plan for expeditiously adjudicating their pending visa applications. 2, a proposal to ensure that individuals whose immigrant visa applications were denied on basis of the suspension and restriction on entry imposed by these 2 proclamations may have their applications reconsidered. This proposal shall consider whether to reopen immigrant visa applications that were denied due to suspension and restriction just based on the proclamations. If you still have, if they were like, no, dude, you can't come in, you're a danger to everybody, that still stands. Whether it is necessary to charge an additional fee to process their visa applications and the development of a plan to do so. Okay, a plan to ensure that the visa applicants are not prejudiced as a result of previous visa denial due to the suspension. So as long, no, you couldn't, you tried to get in, that happens when you try to get a visa in the United States and they deny it, that shows up as a denial on your thing, and then you try to get back in or you try to get another visa, they're like, you were already denied. Well, if the denial was because of these proclamations, it's not your fault. If you were denied because we looked at you and we're like, nope, sketchy dude, bye, then you can go pound sand. So there you go. Review of information sharing relationships, plan to strengthen partnerships. That's talking to these countries. General provisions. Nothing in this proclamation shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect, quote, the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or thereof, the functions of the director of the Office of Management and Budget related to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. This proclamation shall be implemented in a manner consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations, meaning there has to be cash for it available. This proclamation is not intended to and does not create a right or benefit substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States Department. So you can't sue because this was undone that you should have been allowed in. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand this 20th day of January in the year of our Lord 2021, and the independence of the United States of 200, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 245th. This is the American year. How long? Okay, I'm just going to call it. We should just start calling this year 244. Or 245 rather now. This should be, I'm just going to start writing 245 on my checks. So, just in case you were concerned about what Rudy was saying, that they're going to have to apply, they're still going to be vetted. They're just not going to be denied outright because of the country they're in.
I accomplished a lot in 2020 exposing the truth.
And almost exposing your penis to a 15-year-old. But, yeah, please.
Don't wait. Call them now. Call
I'm waiting.
833-GOLD-777. That's 833-GOLD-777.
No, I'm not. Rudy, I'm not going to do it.
Rudy,
I'm not going to text Rudy to anybody.
65532.
I can't. It's a violation of people's...
833-GOLD-777.
No, it's a violation of your parole.
Or text Rudy.
I'm not going to text it.
65532.
Why would I do that? Not doing it, Rudy. I'm not going to quit asking me.
Let's get back to this analysis.
Is it analysis? And by the way, this analysis, notice he taps the paper because it's someone else's. He was given this by the Heritage Foundation or,
Then we look at, the COVID czar and strengthening the World Health Organization also has to be seen in light of reestablishing our membership in the World Health Organization without a single reform of an organization that participated in the spread of COVID-19, otherwise known as the CCP virus, because it came from China.
So they didn't participate in it, and Trump taking his hands off the reins and not insisting that we get our people back in there to look at where it was. Yeah.
And an organization that is well known for operating and working and doing the bidding of China because China has infiltrated it over the last 3 to 4 years, put out false and misleading notices that led to the loss of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives.
Oh, you mean like when Trump knew that it was way more contagious in January of last year, but he lied to the American people for months? Those kind of false statements?
Why would we rejoin an organization like this without requiring very, very strict changes and a decoupling from China?
Because you can't decouple them from China and have it be the World Health Organization. You need to be able to get in there. You need to be able to be ahead of this stuff. And there are changes. Like Biden's actually going to have his team at the CDC and the NIH involved in it. And if there's ever a pandemic like the one we're staring down the barrel of, he would insist that we get to be able to be on site where an outbreak happens so that we can be ahead of the game when it comes to our shores, if indeed it does. He's already spoken about this. That is the difference.
This is clearly China first, and U.S. in danger, which kind of puts us last. But a lot of the rest of the world,
they're coming to get you, Rudy,
is last.
It's amazing.
Changing the policies
guys, in the chat, I'm like, I love you guys. I'm trying to grasp where this is. I mean, it's basically a rubber stamp. He's just going, this is China. This is China. It's got to be China. This is a China thing. And we're the ones who are supposedly going Russia, 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 right? Okay.
With regard to identifying criminal, illegal aliens.
First of all, Rudy, ew. Secondly, close your window.
And having them expedited in.
This is not live, Rudy. My show's live. Your show isn't. Pause for a second. You just took a break. Back up. Wait for the. We got a bogey. I mean, I know it's New York, but
in terms
for
of
crying
being
out loud.
removed from the United States.
All right.
That's going to be changed completely. So we're going to make things nicer for criminal, illegal aliens. The Trump.
Why is that? Oh, you mean because we're not going to zero tolerance? People actually have to have a criminal record to do something illegal besides crossing the border to be immediately deported?
Administration was in the process of defunding sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities? I hate cities where people play the sax. I think defund New York, because every time I go into the subway, somebody's playing the sax. It's terrible.
And having a published report.
It's so romantic.
Documenting all crimes committed by illegal aliens against U.S. citizens. Why would you have anything against that?
Hold on. It says what, Rudy? What does it say?
Administration was in the process of defunding sanctuary cities and having a published report documenting all crimes committed by illegal aliens against U.S. citizens. Why would you have anything against that?
Having them publish it or removing the publishing of it?
And establishing the Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement voice to serve and support victims of crime committed by criminal aliens. Look, we give a tremendous amount of rights to illegal.
It sounds like. Wait a minute. I think Rudy is reading this backwards. Run this by me again, Rudy.
U.S. in danger, which kind of puts us last.
Yeah, the
but
alarm
a lot of the
was
rest of
throwing
the
me
world
off.
is last.
Yeah, please.
Changing the policies with regard to identifying criminal, illegal aliens, and having them expedited in terms of being removed from the United States. That's going to be changed completely. So we're going to make things nicer for criminal, illegal aliens.
How?
The Trump administration was in the process of defunding sanctuary cities and having a published report documenting all crimes committed by illegal aliens against U.S. citizens. Why would you have anything against that? And establishing the Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement voice to serve and support victims of crime committed by criminal aliens. Look, we give a tremendous amount of rights to illegal aliens. Right? No other country does this. No other country in the.
Okay, so Proclamation on the termination of emergency with respect to the southern border of United States, redistributing funds, divided border wall construction. Okay, here we go. Basically, by undoing what Trump stuff, which he hadn't actually done, he proclaimed these things and never actually made them happen, and they were part of the budget. That his we're going to establish a fund for the victims of and we're going to publish stories about them. We're not going to help them. We're just going to publish their stories so that people can, to help us vilify all Mexican immigrants or all Hispanic or Latino people in the United States so that everybody can look at them side-eyed and go, you're probably one of those. And some, I assume, are good people. So preserving and fortifying DACA. These are the immigration ones that he did. Proclamation on ending discriminatory bans in the entry. That was the one we just did. Executive order on the revision of civil immigration enforcement policies and priorities. Civil immigration enforcement policies, meaning getting rid of the zero tolerance idea that Stephen Miller put forward, which is about, making it an equal crime to cross the border illegally as it is running drugs or guns or human trafficking or any of those kind of things. Proclamation on the termination of emergency with respect to the southern border of the United States and redirecting of funds diverted to the border wall construction. This is how he took that money and used it. And then reinstating deferred enforcement departure for Liberians. Extends deferrals for deportation and work authorizations for Liberians with a haven in the United States until June 30th, 2022, because there was some particular reason why they were kicking out Liberians. Wait till he gets to the ethics one. I want to see what Rudy says about the ethics one.
The world gives these rights to criminal aliens. We allow them to stay here, sometimes for 20 years. We don't deport them immediately.
We don't allow people to stay here for 20 years. A lot of those people who've been here for 20 years are living under the radar. They move around in those communities. It's not about allowing them. It's that we're not doing violent raids and having papers please raids.
We're now proposing, I believe, the Democrats to give them health insurance.
Is that what we're proposing? Or Rudy? And by the way, it's a weird spray spot right there. It's very strange. Did you just? That's very strange. I don't know what that is. It looks like someone ashed a cigar on top of your head. It doesn't even look like hair dye at this point. But
we shouldn't have a list of them. We shouldn't.
A list of them? We do. What are you talking about?
Expedite removing them after they beat up, shoot, rob, rape?
We do.
We shouldn't do that.
That's not what we're talking about. Stephen Miller and Donald Trump made it a rule that the zero tolerance meant that simply crossing the border was the same as beating up, robbing, raping, assaulting people, and that they should be expedited and being dumped at the same rate as villainous criminals. What this does is differentiate between the two and have a period of time where you check and see if somebody is here for a legitimate immigration process, where they can process through and be deported at a normal rate of speed, or if they have an asylum request, there's a reason for them to stay.
Well, I mean, that clearly puts America last, and it puts illegal criminal aliens in a privileged position. Not the group you want to put in a privileged position, unless you are far, 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 far left, that all signs of common sense have disappeared.
Is that your definition of far, 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 far left?
So that's another one. America last, criminal illegal aliens first.
So they wrote that down on him for a line.
That included in that is including illegal aliens in the census count. Mm-hmm. Now, this puts you and me, citizens, last, and it puts illegal aliens first. What does this bear on? This bears on the representation in Congress.
Right.
So if there are 12 million illegal aliens, which is the low number if there are 22 million.
The census wants to know how many human beings are inside the borders of the United States. And by the way, the orange on your head stops midway. It's very weird. Do you only face one direction when the sun is out? Do you immediately are... Seriously.
Illegal alien.
That's not even a 5-head.
Wherever they live, there'd be extra congressmen. Well, this is an obvious attempt just to increase Democrat representation in the House of Representatives.
Oh, yeah? In what? Arizona and Texas? They can't vote.
And also more money for Democrat cities that waste more money than any other cities.
Sorry. Tell me more about Arizona and Nevada and Texas and all the southern border cities that will get more representatives in them. And tell me again whether or not the majority of Latin Americans who come across the southern border are Catholic and pro-life.
This is outrageous. I think it's probably unconstitutional.
No, it's constitutional. It's specifically constitutional. Not counting them is the problem.
But it does give you another indication. I'm sorry, President Biden, but one other indication of this is clearly America last.
No, we need to know as Americans exactly who's in our country. Period. End of story. The census is not there randomly. Pretending you don't know someone is there is not counting who is in the space, who's using the resources. Part of the allocation, of course, in just funds that come from Congress to an area, if you have a tremendous number of undocumented immigrants in some border town in Arizona, and they're using the roads, they're using the water system, they're using the sewage, and the city's just basically overrun. Their costs are, bankrupting the city because the population isn't even recognized by the United States. They're not getting any of the resources they need even to deal with the number of undocumented people who are there because they're invisible. Good Lord.
And illegal aliens just about made them citizens.
No, they haven't. We want to count them to know that they are there. That doesn't give them citizenship or any more rights. It's awareness that they're there. If there are deer in your yard, that doesn't mean you have 3 new family members. You just know that there are deer in the yard. You're not closing the drapes and pretending they aren't there.
Without an act of Congress, without the constitutional amendment, nobody even raises what is this?
Nobody even raises a question. It's almost as if the counting of everyone that's in the country, whether they're here legally or not, is in the Constitution.
Government by emperor? This is kind of what Nero used to do.
Is it? That's what Nero used to do? Did Nero count all of his... Good Lord.
Just sign. When we watch him do it, we even wonder if he's read it. He said some strange...
Dude, you haven't even read this.
...thing about it. Is this an order or something strange? I can't remember. He says so many strange things. I can't remember.
Yeah, you can't remember. When does the climate change thing start? And what was it about? And how, I don't even remember. Who's this even for? It's like nobody's even read. They can sign something, and it's almost as if they haven't even looked at the Constitution, because I haven't looked at the Constitution, so nobody must
have.
Jamie, seriously.
Now, maybe one of the biggest blows to America. Halting immediately the Keystone Pipeline. 11,000 people out of work. Boom.
Yeah. And hundreds of thousands of people's water no longer in danger of being poisoned. Tar sands oil not leaking across the United States. The Keystone Pipeline is not for American oil to get to market. It's for the Canadian oil to get across our land to market cheaper so that oil companies that benefit from it and sell it on the open market can do it. This is, again, this is Canada first. If you want to use their language about it, Christ.
100,000 jobs for sure gone. Much, much more gone in Canada. Canadians are going crazy because we made...
Because what?
To deal with them.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. We're turning on a deal we made with Canada? It's almost as if we value the aquifers in the United States over Canadian oil business. It's like American water first.
And no more drilling in that region called Anwar.
Yeah, because we don't need to. There's already a glut of oil in the market.
So this heads us right toward energy dependence again.
No, it doesn't. We were energy independent under Obama, and we didn't have to do any of that shit. We have a surplus. It's wasteful. It's dangerous.
Who the winners here? China, Russia.
Why China?
The more dependent we are, the more important Russia becomes in terms of using its energy extortion over Eastern Europe and somewhat Western Europe.
What? The tar sands oil isn't crucial to getting Germany off the Russian tit, you nutcase.
The more powerful and economically benefited China is. And
why? So because they'll sell us water purifiers?
And this oil's going to go somewhere. And it's probably, Canada's not going to sit on this almost bankrupting loss that we've created for them. So they will just...
So they can run their own goddamn pipeline across their own goddamn ground and get it out to sea on either the east or the west coast of their own goddamn country. Who cares?
Increase the amount of oil they send to China, which is...
Who cares? What do you mean increase the amount of oil they were sending to China? We're not using the tar sands oil. It's not even coming in yet. Jesus Christ.
China first, or leave a gap in which Russia will fill that gap and become even more able to...
To what? To what? Have an economy nearly the same size as Italy? To have an entire economy in their whole country that's with all that oil and gas and nearly the same size economy as what? California? Never happened. California by itself has an economy, 6 times that of Russia? Oh, God.
To extort money because they...
Why would they extort money? What are you talking about? It's a resource.
Use oil and energy and...
do they?
As a form of extortion.
Oh, do they? Yeah, ask the people who worked at Burisma until Hunter Biden came along and stopped it.
That's their way of making sure that Ukraine and other Eastern European countries have to be very careful and not going too far in pushing toward alliance with the West.
Dude, you were just over there manipulating them so that they would be under Russia's thumb.
Just what is hard to understand.
That's because your capability in terms of reading comprehension are poor, Rudy. These are not difficult concepts. Our economy is not going to live or die because of the goddamn Keystone Pipeline. And if we put everybody who was working on the Keystone Pipeline could absolutely be working on wind and solar farms or building a smart grid or expanding broadband, dipshit.
If I recall correctly, and I could be
You don't.
wrong.
You are.
I believe Hillary Clinton eventually supported this. I know Obama and Kerry were against it, or if not, certainly had a lot of problems with it. This is favored by many environmental groups.
This is favored by many environmental groups. Favored
by many environmental groups because there's 830,000 barrels of crude oil coming from up in Alberta, Canada, going through Nebraska, and then down to the Gulf Shore for use in the United States, as well as ultimately maybe export.
No, all for export. And first of all, it's all export. It's Canadian. It's not even export. It goes through our country out to the Gulf. We don't have spigots on it, you dumbass.
As we become a country that makes money from oil, Remember,
we don't make money from oil. That's the problem with this thing. It just goes over our land. And if it bursts, we eat the cost.
when we used to be dependent on Saudi Arabia and on other countries,
We buy that oil on the open market. It's just about how it gets to market and the damage it causes that the taxpayer has to pay to clean up. If the Keystone Pipeline bursts or over time poisons our aquifers or ruins the environment, we end up with the bill. We might end up suing them for a portion of it. We might be able to force them, but once it's there, it's there. We can't undo it once it's complete without a major lawsuit. So not completing it is crucial. But this is all oil exported from Canada. This is not American oil. God
because
damn.
of President Trump's emphasis on these things,
it's not American energy. This is Canadian oil, stupid.
Energy independent now.
Yeah. What? I'm sorry. Was it our job to make Canada energy independent? Which they are, because they could just pump that shit right into their own
and
tanks.
Beginning the stage of now being an exporter. It'll change our whole balance of payments. What's wrong with them?
The Keystone Pipeline isn't American oil, stupid.
Dead. Keystone Pipeline dead. Exploration.
Hooray. Bye, Keystone.
In the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. That's ANWR. That would have been drilling on 400,000 acres. And there is unlimited, I shouldn't say unlimited, but untold other reserves that haven't been tapped yet.
Yeah, that we don't need, that we're not using, that we would just sell for other countries to burn instead of creating technology we could sell.
This could make us energy independent for generations, for our children.
Right, especially if we don't break into it until it's an emergency.
The governor of Alaska, named Mike Donlevy, says that this is an attack on our sovereignty and well-being.
So?
And it risks our economic future. He's not exaggerating.
Yes, he is.
He's not exaggerating.
Yes, he is. The Keystone Pipeline is not America's future economically.
And then he also bars oil and natural gas drilling in the Bering Sea. Hey, Joe, you know who's going to get that oil? Russia.
No, not in the areas we control, stupid.
Russia. You might as well give it to them. Why don't you mine it, Joe, and just give it to Russia the way you and Biden gave all that billions of dollars in cash to the Iranian terrorist murderers?
It was their money. We were paying interest on it.
Might as well.
Are we paying interest to Russia on the oil we're not drilling in the Bering Sea? Jesus.
This would be a good time to take a short break.
Yes. Perhaps you should have some oxygen. We're going to lose our house. Here it is. This is our thing. Oh, buddy.
Your address to see if you're already a victim and don't know it.
If you're watching this, you probably are.
Rudy. That's me. And sign up for 30 free days of protection. That's code Rudy.
By the way, when he said you and Biden, Mark, I think he meant Hunter.
HomeTitleLock.com. Thank you for returning. This one I don't even think I have to say, right? This is America dead last, way last. America economic future at risk. Giving away our oil.
Our oil. It's
big. Big plus for Russia.
I'll have to wrap this up in like 10 minutes just because I can't stand it, but also I've got to get ready to join Stutter John on his show.
Push for China. Big minus for Canada, and an even bigger minus.
Why is it a big minus for Canada? Oh, right, because it's Canadian oil.
For the United States. I don't know. I can't
read.
I mean, on these, America's last. The America First policy has been changed to America Last.
How is it America last for Canadian oil not to be shipped through the United States, creating a potential for an environmental disaster? What are you talking about?
Also,
think he's just going to skip the ethics oath that they have to sign? Do you think he's going to mention that one?
He's changed the civil right of biological males to participate in female sports and use female showers and restrooms.
You mean transgender people? You mean transgender military? He upended the transgender military ban?
I don't know if you can analyze this on America First or Last analysis.
Well, the trans people are Americans, so.
But if I were a female athlete, I would consider this the end of female athletics as we know it. And then we have the ending of the construction of the border wall.
This one's good.
Which, gosh almighty, I mean, it's just going to mean more illegal immigration.
Is it? Really? Because I seem to recall during the Obama-Biden administration that some of the flack they got was the number of deportations. That they were pretty strong on that kind of stuff, that they had a sound policy, and it was pretty strict.
And you can see
they actually presented the comprehensive immigration bill to Congress.
I mean, there were caravans coming up from Nicaragua in anticipation of Biden coming into office and making it.
Really? Because there were caravans coming up all during Trump. What were they anticipating?
Easier to cross the border.
We are coming up here from Guatemala to help make America great again. We love Donald Trump. That's why we're coming.
What?
And also, Biden has all kinds of goodies in mind for them. We might as well advertise in Nicaragua and in Honduras and in El Salvador, where MS-13 and there are about 4 or 5 other completely barbaric tribes.
Barbaric tribes. Great. You mean gangs, dickhead?
Criminals. These are not
barbaric tribes of criminals. And we were offended at Trump saying they're sending crime.
Like gangs that we talk about. These gangs chop off arms and legs. They rape just to make a point.
Just to make a point. This is my parking space. Say it. This is your parking space. Okay, don't make me make a point again. Yeah, MS-13 are mostly Americans. We had to throw some of them in jail here. Look, Dick York was better than Dick Sargent. Yeah, but I take your point.
They come into a community.
You bet you do.
Community, and they
just to make a point.
They attack it and
This is. Pal, please see my earlier post about the pipeline.
Terrorize it. And they kill a couple of young girls so they can have control of it. And then they boss that community around. A couple near here.
You boss me around.
And the president I know got criticized for calling them, I don't know, what do you call them, savages? They are savages.
Wasn't criticized for calling MS-13 savages. He was criticized for asserting that somehow MS-13 has anything in linkage with the average Hispanic or Latino person in the United States any more than the mafia were savages for some of the stuff that they did. And we're going to align, the assumption that that is a smear that applies to all Italians in the United States. You get me? That if the IRA were bombing people and that they were savages, that it was the loose use of that the Irish would be savages because of what the IRA did. Stupid.
He wasn't calling everybody savages. He was calling the people who chop people's arms off to protect us.
They cut people's arms off to protect us?
Talk about common sense a lot, right? And I've been in government a long time.
No, you haven't. You've been out of government for a long time.
and I work day and night to protect my citizens.
Yes, John is live, but I'm not jumping in till let me see if he sent a link to me, because hold on 1 second, let me check, because he usually sends me a link when he wants me to join in, and then that's how I know. Nope, no link yet. Tell you what, I'm gonna bounce off and join and just plan to join in there, because I'll get stuck in this. I just want to see if he says the ethics.
Blasio made it higher. Well, the order of immigration reform. But immigration reform, the end result, immediate result has to be, you don't get in this country without they take your temperature. And we're just going to let 50,000 people from Nicaragua walk across the border.
No, we're not.
Wouldn't you say, gee, those 600 people coming across the border, they look just like my guys. I can put about 100 of my guys in there, maybe 200. They're not going to check.
That's the idea, is that because we're allowing asylum seekers across the border, we're just going to fill them with MS-13 and gang members, and we're not going to even look. Biden's not even going to look. Just like, welcome in, more Democratic voters, even though they can't vote and whatever. They won't get the right to vote for decades. And obviously, Biden's like, what is he worried about? His fourth term? Yeah, at that point.
So they just come in with it. That's been going on for years. And I don't know if you've watched Lara Logan's piece on Fox Nation on her analysis of the border, but it's become controlled by the gangs. You know, they have more control over immigration in this country than we do. We have none, according to Biden.
I'm sorry, who's been president for the last 4 years?
We're going to not have a border wall. We're headed toward new goodies for illegals, like health insurance.
No, they can just get they can be checked for COVID and those kind of things without having to show that they're citizens, because we're worried that people won't come in when they have a contagious disease and we won't be able to stop it because it'll spread.
We're going to protect criminal aliens here. Let them stay.
No, we're not. They're going to get due process.
Where does that put America?
That puts us America. That means America is a country of laws and that we follow them.
I'm afraid it puts America last again, doesn't it? And it puts gangs, cartels
first. Just say first.
Traffickers in human beings, particularly young girls.
Oh yeah, like Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's modeling agency.
Puts them way at the top.
Really? How did the Russian anchor babies get born in Miami's Trump Tower?
These orders.
Thank you.
They're very dangerous.
Cool. Thanks.
And it does answer what he means when he says, I reject America first. Now, I'm not saying every order does that. There are orders here I either don't oppose or don't strongly disagree with, some of which are necessary to tide us over through COVID. So I'm not saying every order is like that, but the big ones jump out at you. And so if you're being honest...
You're just going to skip the ethics one entirely, aren't you?
We no longer seem to be capable of being. The America first with regard to immigration, the America first with regard to China and Russia, America first with regard to energy, America first, I think we're soon going to see with regard to treaties, has become America, not even second or third or fourth. But wait. And in a couple of these, America clearly last. This can't be sustained. This is going to do tremendous damage to our economy.
Terrible.
It's going to do tremendous damage to our
alien is not
morale.
used by the Biden administration. No, it isn't.
It can do tremendous damage to us in the world. We'll once again become a country
That's because
that
aliens are actually coming, Aggie, and
goes along to get along.
So we want to be able to make that distinction.
We'll not take a short break.
Humans.
If you want a good cigar,
God damn! I'm
go to a
sorry.
good
I was off the button on that one, and we had to hear the suction noise as that cigar came out of Rudy's mouth. Gross.
You want?
I don't want. I don't want. Grotesque old fart. It's nasty. Please get to the ethics.
Our analysis. I'll conclude with just trying to appeal to your common sense if you don't see this.
Yeah, do it for me. Come on, Rudy. One last appeal to my common sense. Come on.
This whole thrust of Biden and Kerry and all these people is we're not much better than any other country. We're the same. We should stop saying we're better.
No, we just have to. We're currently not because of your boy. Let's be abundantly clear. And by the way, you notice here's one. This one's one. Let me show you. This is one of the ones that he didn't talk about. These are the two he didn't mention, if you'll notice. But this one's interesting. Modernizing regulatory review. Directs the White House Office of Management and Budget Director to develop recommendations to modernize regulatory review and undoes Trump's regulatory approval process. Meaning that it's just like these junk ones for his buddies. Modernize it. Modernize all our regulations. Some of them are old. Some of them are stacked. Sometimes they have 3 regulations where there need only be 1. The other ones haven't been rescinded to catch up with the first one. We need a system by which we categorize regulations and we keep them up to date. There's an ethics one. Executive order on ethics commitments by executive branch personnel requires executive branch appointees to sign an ethics pledge barring them from acting in personal interest and requiring them to uphold the independence of the Department of Justice. Notice Rudy didn't bring those up. Can I just, for the record, thanks. It's common sense that you would bring those up.
And we should become more like them and accept these very large tariffs. And I don't know.
No problem, Anita. It's true. It's crazy.
You know,
Yeah.
we lose 1 million jobs, but we pay less for the product, we think. For a party, the Democrat Party, that thought of the American worker, it's a complete abandonment of the American worker, of course.
I'm sorry. The Democratic Party crafted the tax incentives for people to move their factories overseas? No, they didn't. That was a Republican addition. And every attempt to undo it has been stymied by Republicans. Maybe not now. But at least till now.
But
what?
But there's a bigger point here. A much bigger point.
Yeah, what's the bigger point? Besides the ones that besides the lies that you told about what was signed and the ones you ignored, pretending they weren't. What's the bigger point, Rudy? Give us move back. Give us the bird's eye view.
Why does America have an immigration problem?
We don't have an immigration problem. But a lot of people want to come here. Every country has immigration problems, immigration challenges, if you will.
Sit back and think about it.
Why does Turkey have an immigration problem? Why does Germany have an immigration problem?
What is that problem?
Are we the only country that has an immigration problem?
The problem is that unlimited numbers of people want to come.
Unlimited numbers of people want to come
into this country.
Mm-hmm. Why?
If we just opened it up more, I don't know what percentage of the world would want to come here.
Right, but to participate in our constitutional government because of the things that make America America.
Can you pick for me any country on the globe? I wish I had my globe here. It's over there. Can you pick?
Yeah, you can't. Nobody can expect you, Rudy, to be able to think up a country at random.
Pick for me any country on the globe, except when there are wars and you have refuge that other people want to come to as much as the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in Southeast Asia, it's mostly China, mainland China. They try to get into mainland China because there's a lot of jobs to be had there. There's a lot of people, a lot of service industries, a lot of Vietnamese, a lot of Cambodians, a lot of Thai, a lot of people from Macau. Yeah, they try to get into China like crazy. A lot of Kazakhstani people try to get into Russia to live there. They fight to do it. They traverse long distances. Some of them die getting there. I mean, look at the number of boats trying to get into Italy from the Middle East. I mean, that's where they're headed. They're going up into Italy and then up into Eastern Europe. Germany is one of the main sites. They want to get there. And if they get into the UK, I mean, ask Polish people about going to the UK. They're not trying to get to the United States necessarily. They're trying to get to the UK, mainly because the UK has a National Health Service.
And if that's the case, why should we be leveling ourselves down to other countries that don't have what we offer?
What?
Instead, what we should be doing is putting America first. Build on what we have. Make ourselves even greater. And of course, everybody can't come in. But then for those who do come in, it's something worthwhile. Then we're building America, not deteriorating America.
Did everybody get that?
I really do think this is not partisan politics. I really do think it's an exercise of logic and common sense.
Well, not in this case, because I can't follow your logic, and there's no commonality to what you would refer to as sense. We're not lowering the standards of the United States. We're living up to that part of it. Other countries don't let people in, can't exercise their rights and privileges to every member of society. That is what makes it extraordinary. If we create a secondary caste system, like, oh yeah, America's great, but they basically float on they're like scum on a pond floating on top of the, pond, which is all, undocumented immigrants doing all the work. Is that the exemplary nation that you're talking about? Or that if you can get into America by following the rules and becoming a citizen, the sky's the limit. And they deal with, illegal immigration fairly and judiciously. They're not violent about it. Like when you pass from Guatemala into the Oaxacan territories or whatever.
And a lot of the left.
I don't think it'll be hard to repair the Justice Department. I think everybody will just hit a reset and go back to acting like that's their job. There'll be some people that got to get paired out, Wes, but I don't think the damage is as permanent as they think. I think that Barr's control and a couple other people are the difficult aspects of it. And I think by setting a standard, making sure they maintain it, and the hands-off posture of the Biden administration being, we're not going to tell you what to go after. We just want you to follow the law and deal with, the problems that are in front of us. And the only input we're going to have is making sure that you guys, that sycophants aren't running, Trump sycophants aren't running interference against legit cases. That's it.
Left-wing thinking, if not all of it. One of the problems with it is it doesn't have logic. It doesn't have common sense.
Use those words again. Just pretend.
And over 160, 70 years of following it, it consistently fails. But this is the direction they're going in, and we have got to be alert to stop this. We've got to be alert to stand up to this.
How? What are you talking about? Stop what? What, going back to the immigration policies that we had under George H.W. Bush? That's the big freak out?
We who oppose putting America even second certainly oppose putting America last.
Well, you are putting America last, Rudy. You have been. You and Donald Trump have been flushing America down the toilet, gutting the Constitution, turning on every aspect of it in the name of creating turning the U.S. into a gated community for you and your cronies. You've been wiping your ass with the flag. Your followers and his followers all traipsed up the steps of the Capitol to interrupt the function of our government, which is set forth in the Constitution, with a violent insurrection, and beat a cop with a thin blue line flag. That's America last. That is the definition, logically, using common sense, of putting the basis of what makes this country amazing in the toilet. Because that's what you did, Rudy. That's what you're doing. That's what you want to do. I'm calling his show this week. I have to.
And I'm not sure anybody else has called him out on this. But
I'm calling you out, Rudy.
On a number of these things, like you did when you were negotiating with China and your son was getting a lot of money from them, you're putting America last.
My son is 9 years old.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Who are you talking to?
And let's see what we can do to change that. Thank you very much, and we'll be back with you in just a couple of days.
You've been putting America last, and you should be ashamed of yourself, and we'll see if we can change that. What? Jesus Christ. Gibberish. Okay, I have to, it was fun to do this kind of extended version. I've got to jump off so that if I'm going to be on John's show, I can be ready to do it and turn on my stuff, otherwise, because I can't have both. Fade to Kraken. I can remember anything. That's, one, but whatever. Please call into him. Yeah, I really am, like, it's aggravating me. I need to find out what time he's on my time and plot it out. Yeah. So, and thank you. I appreciate you guys, the love for the hair today. It's definitely, I mean, it's not like it's nice because the green screen takes away like some of the flyaway aspect away. Like if it gets a little dry and whatever, it hides. 674. Oh, wow. Thank you, patrons, by the way, for supporting us. Our new goal is, of course, 1,000. And oh my God, if we could do that by February 14th, by Valentine's Day, that would be so sweet. I'm going to hop off. I will see you guys later on. If not, I will see you Monday. A week from Sunday, I'm doing a show for Flappers, flapperscomedy.com. I do that show for free, but the tickets sales that they get go to keep the club, somewhat above water until COVID ends, especially during the current unpleasantness. At some point, I'm just going to have to get up there. Like, they'll be able to fill it like a normal indoor restaurant because that's the new rules in California. And we'll just put up one of those drum riser shields. Yeah. Yes, it was always Trump and his cronies first. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Molly, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Much love to you and your family, and my condolences. I don't know if it was related to the current unpleasantness or something else, but my thoughts go out to you. I just saw that go by in the chat. I'm very sorry. I will see you guys in a little bit. Thank you guys for the thumbs up and the support. Thank you for our new patrons who've joined us, and thank you guys for the bits and the super chats today. I appreciate it. And the stars happening over on Facebook. Remember, nothing makes a troll more miserable than watching people on Facebook give stars to the show. It is really just it's a pie in the face. It really is. And I want to laugh and join you. Well, thank you, Robin. Yes. If I can do it live, and the only problem with live streaming it is that I'm going to be sitting on hold, and maybe or maybe not, they may or may not take me. So I will see you guys over at John's show. I'm going to sign off right now. Bye-bye. Oh my God, Kimber, I just saw your Venmo. Thank you so much. That was very sweet of you. I appreciate that. Thanks, guys.